Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. Invasion of All Realms, I Become a God by Signing In. Chapter 61. Purple-red flames emerged from the soul stone pit in the distance, which was particularly conspicuous in the dark night. The purple-red flames soared into the sky, intending to burn everything in the world. There seems to be something in there. Ling Chonger stepped on the green jade flute and appeared next to Yi Hao. At the same time, more and more warrior-level beings appeared. We don't know what it is yet. Yi Hao also discovered that the breath of life came from the flames, and it became more and more powerful. It shouldn't be long before his true form is revealed. Not far away, Bai Ling also came. At this time, the aura on her body was very powerful, and she had reached the realm of a martial artist. Behind his back, 4 white wings stretched out, exuding a pure white sacred light, shrouding the surroundings. Want to compete with the silver moon in the sky. Yi Hao. She was originally very indifferent to everything around her, but when she saw Yi Hao, who had also become a martial artist, she couldn't help but speak out. The aura in the other party's body seemed to be stronger than hers. You know, she has much more resources than the other party. She is also a protector with the level of Grand Master, who paved the way for her. Not only that, but he also advanced his talent to the extraordinary level. Has 4 wings. But even so, her realm is still not as good as the other party. This reminded her of the dark period when she was studying liberal arts and was always being suppressed by the other party. I felt inexplicably uncomfortable, but then he realized something and quickly covered his mouth. Unfortunately, Yi Hao had already noticed the other party's arrival, and heard the other party calling his name, and nodded gently, yes. Now, Bai Ling felt even more embarrassed and could only nod in response. Then, she looked at Mr. Zhou aside, her eyes full of resentment. Mr. Zhou, didn't you say that Yi Hao's potential has been exhausted? How do I feel that he is the real extraordinary talent? A rare trace of embarrassment flashed across Mr. Zhou's face. He didn't expect that the little guy in front of him was so unexpected. We just haven't seen each other for a while and he became the 6th level martial artist. Moreover, the aura on his body was extremely powerful, and he could even sense that there was a terrifying spiritual power in the other party's body. The Bai Ling in front of him had tried all his methods, but he was probably no match for him. But he didn't dare to say that, for fear of hurting the person in front of him. After all, he had investigated the other party's information and knew that Yi Hao was her lifelong enemy. Awakened the talent of the 2-winged angel, but was still overwhelmed by the opponent. Anyone would be unhappy. Now he can only pretend to be deaf and dumb. A strong sword energy streaked across the sky, and the terrifying aura instantly attracted the attention of everyone around him. Immediately afterwards, Zhou Lin in a white robe appeared in front of everyone. Zhou Lin, he is actually here. Mr. Zhou's eyelids twitched as he recognized the other party's identity. Zhou Lin is ranked 997th on the list of geniuses. Although there are only 997 people, you must know that there are 1.6 billion people in the Dragon Kingdom, and there are 80 million people between the ages of 18 and 20. Being able to rank 997 among these 80 million people shows how powerful his combat power is. The opponent's talent is extremely powerful, and it's called Sword Mastery. He can practice any technique or secret technique related to swordsmanship to a great level in a short period of time. It is said that the opponent already has 4 different sword powers in the Master Realm, and has a luxurious record of hunting down the 5th level demon alone. But even so, the opponent is still only ranked 997 on the list of geniuses. How terrifying it would be for the most powerful genius. That's the genius on the genius list. When Bai Ling heard Mr. Zhou mention the identity of the other party, his eyes suddenly lit up. Immediately afterwards, a strong fighting spirit surged in his heart. One day, she will also be on the list of geniuses and know all kinds of powerful geniuses. Mr. Zhou. Zhou Lin also noticed the presence of Mr. Zhou. Yu Jian flew over and saluted Mr. Zhou. The other party is a great master of swordsmanship, his senior, and deserves his respect. Well, you came here for the water Qilin this time. Have you found any traces of him? Mr. Zhou looked at Zhou Lin in front of him, his eyes full of admiration. Mentioning the water unicorn, Zhou Lin smiled bitterly and shook his head. The speed of the water unicorn is really too fast. I have met it 3 times, but every time I get closer, it disappears without a trace, leaving me helpless. Quote. Water Qilin is an ancient divine beast, so just do your best. Mr. Zhou comforted him. In his heart, he didn't feel that the Zhou Lin in front of him could be recognized by Shui Qilin, even if the other party was a genius on the genius list. This secret realm shouldn't be able to trap Shui Qilin. I just don't know what attracts him and keeps him here. Zhou Lin thought for a few seconds and expressed this idea. Divine beasts like the water unicorn possess powerful magical powers in the sky. As he grows, he automatically completes baptism, evolves his bloodline, and unlocks the divine treasure in his body. A mere elementary secret realm cannot trap the opponent at all. You want to gain the other person's approval. Mr. Zhou has lived for hundreds of years and has become a mature man. He understood the other party's thoughts instantly. Well, I feel a familiar atmosphere in this flame. After finishing speaking, Zhou Lin looked at the purple-red flames not far away. The eyes are closed, one white and one black, with a special aura. In his eyes, the creature in the flames slowly revealed its true appearance. Just when he was about to see clearly, a blazing light shot out of the flame and headed straight for him. What a risk! Seeing this, Zhou Lin could only retract his gaze and avoid this blazing light. When he saw the half-cut mountaintop, he was still frightened. If he had been slower just now, he would probably have been hit. Just a casual blow has such terrifying combat power. He became increasingly curious about the creature in the flames. Yin-yang eyes. Mr. Zhou recognized the magical power Zhou Lin had just used, which was an extremely powerful eye technique. It seems that when the other party completed the baptism, he opened the divine treasure in his eyes and obtained the yin and yang eyes. If the person who records the list finds out, I'm afraid his ranking will move up. Please ask Mr. Zhou to keep it a secret for me. Seeing that Mr. Zhou saw his trump card, Zhou Lin also bowed and begged. Now is not the time for him to reveal his trump card. The fewer people who know about it, the better. Can. Mr. Zhou nodded. That guy is the top talent on the list of geniuses, Zhou Lin. He is very powerful. Ling Chonger pointed to Zhou Lin not far away and reminded Yi Hao. He was deeply afraid that his benefactor might accidentally offend him. Although Yi Hao is very strong, he does not think that Yi Hao is his opponent. It's him. Yi Hao also recognized that the other person was the sword cultivator who stopped him before. When I heard that the other party was on the list of geniuses, I wasn't too surprised. After all, he had made some guesses before. I just don't know if I can be on this list of geniuses. Yi Hao clenched his fists, his fighting spirit igniting. Something's out. Suddenly, someone exclaimed, attracting everyone's attention. The purple-red flame began to shrink inward, and slowly, a huge creature appeared in everyone's eyes. Fire Qilin. Lion head, antlers, tiger eyes, elk body, dragon scales, ox tail. The hairy tail looks like a dragon's tail, with one corner containing flesh. This image instantly reminds people of the legendary fire unicorn. Everyone's breathing became rapid, and they couldn't believe what they saw. What the hell, even the fire unicorn has appeared. Is this really a primary secret realm? After seeing this scene, Ling Chonger began to doubt his life and felt that he was still sleeping and had not woken up. But the hot feeling spreading from a distance made his skin dry, and the slight pain caused by it clearly showed that he was very awake now. First it was the water Qilin, and now it is the fire Qilin. Could it be possible that the wind Qilin and the thunder Qilin among the remaining 4 Qilin are also in this secret realm? Yi Hao frowned deeply and looked at the fire Qilin in the distance. If this is really the case, Anhai City will become the center of the storm next. Because of the high-grade soul stone veins, Anhai City attracted the attention of many big forces. Now, the 4 unicorns appear together, which may completely detonate Anhai City. The next Anhai City will definitely no longer be stable. I feel the same way, but I have already informed the principal. This time, the secret realm may be completely blocked. Quote. Ling Chonger nodded, fully agreeing with Yi Hao's idea. But then he expressed his worries. The appearance of the fire Qilin this time may completely close the secret realm, and their cultivation speed will definitely slow down a lot. Yi Hao shook his head helplessly. This kind of thing is not something they can decide, we can only follow the school's arrangements. The fire unicorn not far away looked at the humans around it indifferently and did not launch an attack. Even though Zhou Lin had offended him before, he did not attack again. He stepped on purple flames and walked on the void. The aura in the body is extremely terrifying, and it seems to have exceeded the upper limit of the level of the secret realm. But it seems that there are higher level laws protecting him, so that the power of the surrounding secret realm cannot have any effect on it. The heavenly Tao in this world wanted to drive the opponent away, but there was no way. After trying to no avail, they chose to give up. Huo Qilin didn't care at all about this. He raised his proud head and looked into the distance, as if waiting for something. Waiting for the water unicorn. Zhou Lin's eyes suddenly lit up when he saw this scene, because he guessed Huo Qilin's purpose. The fact was just as he guessed. The water unicorn he had been pursuing appeared in the distance. The whole body is blue, controlling all water, and walking on the void. Seeing the water unicorn appearing, Zhou Lin couldn't help but take a step forward, trying to gain the other party's approval. Quote. The water unicorn looked at the human in front of him who wanted to move forward, and gently waved his front hooves. The water mist in the void instantly condensed into a huge slap, sending the opponent flying away. This guy was really annoying and wanted to offend him several times. Without giving him a lesson, I really thought he had a good temper. However, he didn't kill him, he just gave the other party a small lesson. I didn't expect you to come out early. Fire Qilin looked at the emerging water Qilin, a hint of surprise flashed in his eyes. Logically speaking, the other party was buried in the soul crystal, and the speed of absorbing the soul crystal should not be as fast as him. But unfortunately, the other party appeared earlier than him. It was also because he felt the other person's breath that he didn't leave. But then, he seemed to have discovered something, and sneered, "So that's it, were you brought out by these humans?" He discovered that the other party's body had not returned to a perfect state. In other words, the other party was not like him, perfectly absorbing the soul crystal that enveloped him. Coupled with the surrounding excavation traces and these humans, he had to suspect that the other party was dug out. So what? Water Qilin looked at the fire Qilin in front of him, full of fear. The other party is the most powerful existence among the 4 unicorns. Even if he is restored to a perfect state, he is no match for the other party. Not to mention, he has not fully recovered at this time. When he saw Yi Hao not far away, a strange color flashed in his eyes, because he remembered that it was the other party who dug him out. Is it this guy? The fire unicorn's mental power is also very terrifying. Even if the water unicorn only glanced at Yi Hao, he was still discovered by him. He also stepped on the void and appeared in front of Yi Hao the next second. Looking at him condescendingly, "TMD, what the hell is this?" Looking at the fire Qilin so close at hand, Yi Hao felt like he was going to be dried out by the flames on his body, and he quickly activated the blood flame technique in his body, which made him feel better. Okay, it's none of this human business. Shui Qilin looked at the disappearing fire Qilin and instantly felt something was wrong. After seeing the fire unicorn appearing in front of Yi Hao, it directly controlled the water element between heaven and earth, formed a protective shield, wrapped Yi Hao, and flew into the distance. Water, we are 4 brothers who share the same love. This human actually took away your soul crystal, causing you to not fully recover. Since you can't bear to do it, then I will do it for you, brother. After saying that, Huo Qilin walked towards Yi Hao. What? Yi Hao actually has a soul crystal on his body. That is a treasure 100 times more precious than a high-level soul stone. How big must it be to be able to hold the water unicorn's soul crystal? It's a pity that Fire Qilin will not let Yi Hao go, and so many soul crystals were wasted. When the people around them heard what Huo Qilin said, their hearts could not stop beating. But when they saw the fire unicorn not far away, they seemed to have been poured cold water on them. I couldn't help but shudder. There is no difference between snatching Yi Hao from Huo Qilin's hands and committing suicide. Okay, if you have any conditions, just tell me and I will agree. Shui Qilin looked at Fire Qilin not far away and couldn't help but said. Ha ha ha, you are so smart. Fire Qilin stopped and turned to look at Water Qilin. Say it directly, Shui Qilin said coldly. Follow me. After saying that, the Fire Qilin stepped on the purple-red flames and disappeared. Shui Qilin looked back at Yi Hao and disappeared. Why did he save me? Just now, Yi Hao was ready to use the flying sword in his body. It's just that he can't beat him, but he can use this to escape. But what he didn't expect was that Shui Qilin actually saved him. It left him puzzled. Can you still find the water unicorn? Zhou Lin came back and saw everything that happened. Yi Hao, hand over the soul crystal and we will share it equally. Others are also surrounding here. There was a blazing light in his eyes, as if he wanted to swallow Yi Hao whole. Divine objects such as soul crystals are definitely not something that a single martial artist can control alone. Moreover, he is still a mud-legged person without any background. Have you forgotten that fighting is prohibited within the magic circle? Yi Hao looked around and saw the unabashed greed in the eyes of the people around him. Even though they come from those big families, the soul crystal is still a rare treasure in their eyes. Thinking of the school's regulations, he frowned. Ma Yuanliang, who came from one of the big families in the city next door, saw such an innocent Yi Hao, pointed at the martial arts masters around him and said with a smile, "These martial arts masters are all the proud ones from major cities, and the forces behind them are so terrifying. Let's take action together. How do you think the school will respond when the time comes? Do you know that the law does not punish everyone? A good law does not blame everyone." Zhao Li appeared next to Yi Hao, with red wings stretched out behind her. The feathers above are engraved with countless mysterious golden runes. If you look at these runes for a long time, you will find that these runes are beating, like little tadpoles swimming in the water, like living creatures. What's this? Everyone looked at Zhao Li who appeared in front of them, their eyes full of fear, because in their impressions, there was no record of these red wings. Zhao Li, you hide it so deeply. Yi Hao looked at Zhao Li who appeared in front of him and felt the aura in her body. He had reached the peak that this world could bear, the perfection of martial arts. He carefully looked at the girl in front of him, and suddenly felt an unusual aura in her body, and understood something. It seems that when the other party entered the secret realm to practice, he got a lot of benefits. I just don't know if the person in the other party's body will have a bad influence on Zhao Li. Squad leader, I didn't hide it from you on purpose. Zhao Li explained quickly. Yi Hao waved his hand to stop the other party from continuing. Everyone has his own secret. In fact, you don't have to stand up. These guys add up to this. Quote. After finishing speaking, he looked around and looked at the dozen martial artist level guys in front of him. Yi Hao, if you tell me how to find the location of the water unicorn, I can help you solve these guys. Zhou Lin only had water unicorns in his eyes, but as for things like soul crystals, he couldn't see them. The faces of the surrounding martial artists became even more ugly after hearing Zhou Lin's words. Just now, they confirmed each other's identity. The peerless genius on the genius list. Although they are both disciples of the monster class, together they are no match for the one in front of them. If the other party really takes action, they will have no choice but to escape. I have no idea. Yi Hao shook his head. He really didn't know how to find the water unicorn. Snort. Zhou Lin looked deeply at Yi Hao in front of him, snorted dissatisfied, and quietly took a step back. Give up the battlefield. Since the other party insisted on seeking death, he had no choice but to refuse. Brothers, come together. Seeing Zhou Lin retreating, Ma Yuanliang's face instantly flashed with joy, and then he pulled out the sword on his back and rushed towards Yi Hao. His body suddenly swelled several times, and his combat power also skyrocketed. The muscles on his body bulged horribly. The moment he approached Yi Hao, he directly clenched the sword in his hand and slashed at Yi Hao's face. Roll. Zhao Li's voice became cold. This was Zhao Xuaning taking control of her body. It was also because of her existence that Zhao Li was able to advance to the level of martial arts master in a short period of time. Naturally, only she can exert this power to the extreme. Following her sharp shout, Ma Yuanliang suddenly felt his head shake and his whole body froze in the air. Then, he lost control of his body and fell towards the ground. If it weren't for the auxiliary warriors, Ma Yuanliang would be caught. I'm afraid the opponent will be smashed into a pulp. After all, we are now 100 meters in the air. What a strong spirit. Yi Hao, who had practiced visualization diagrams, naturally realized that what Zhao Li launched this time was a spiritual attack. Just an ordinary mental attack made a martial artist lose consciousness. It's enough to show how terrifying the opponent's mental power is. At least Yi Hao couldn't do this before reaching the 4th level. Blessing. Ma Yuanliang's coma did not dispel these people's ideas, but made them even crazier. There are auxiliary warriors who raise their hands high and grant blessings to these warriors in the monster class. Super talent. Blessing. In a short period of time, the target can gain 100% increase in all attributes within 30 seconds. The number of blessing targets can be determined according to your own realm. Currently, she can grant blessings to 8 people. Lin Jia's blessing can only last for 30 seconds. Let's try our best to deal with this guy within 30 seconds. Zhang Yu shouted angrily, holding a euphorbia in his hand, and drew it in the direction of Yi Hao. A slash of crimson energy, like a crescent moon, struck at Yi Hao's head. Bai Ling. Just when Yi Hao was about to take action, he felt a special aura and stopped. He looked at Bai Ling, who appeared beside him. Snort. Bai Ling looked at the guy who had been pressing down on him and groaned. Then he waved the 4 wings behind him, and the blazing white energy condensed in his chest, directly facing the energy slash in front of him. Bang! The 2 energies collided in the air, making a deafening sound. The terrifying aftermath spread to all directions. Your beauty is not shallow. Ling Chong'er looked at Zhao Li not far away, and at Bai Ling aside, with envy in his eyes. Then, he propped up the ancient bronze bell and dispersed the aftermath. Bai Ling, you are a disciple of our monster class, are you sure you want to help outsiders? Zhang Yu frowned and looked at Bai Ling in front of him, and said coldly. Outsider, you are the outsiders. Bai Ling spoke coldly. She and Yi Hao have been classmates for 3 years, far beyond what the transfer students in front of them can compare with. Only she can do it to defeat Yi Hao. Why do these guys? Looking at Bai Ling, and then at Zhao Li, who was teasing his classmate, Zhang Yu's face became even more ugly. This time, they might not be able to catch Yi Hao. Withdraw. Seeing that the time for blessing had come, Zhang Yu could only signal everyone to come back. Otherwise, if we drag on any longer, the principal and the others will come and they won't be able to leave. Gone. Zhao Xuaning looked at the retreating people and also retreated. Although these people were not her opponents, she did not kill them in order not to make enemies of the Zhao family. Want to leave now? Too late. Yi Hao looked at the people who wanted to leave and sneered. Yi Hao. Zhao Li temporarily gained control of her body and couldn't help but speak. But the next words were on his lips, but he didn't know how to say them. Ha ha ha, we want to leave, how can you stop us? Zhang Yu looked at Yi Hao, then pointed at the demon class disciple next to him, with a mocking look on his face. Don't make the mistake of yourself. Lin Jia also stood up and looked at the mud-legged man in front of him coldly. Self-mistaken. Yi Hao sneered again and again. Then, 32 small swords flew out of his mind and flew around. Eventually, the forest stood all around, shrouding everyone in it. The terrifying sword energy moves freely, and it can kill a martial artist with a single stroke. There is a martial artist who does not believe in evil and wants to escape from the sword energy blockade. Ah! A sword energy passed by, and the opponent's right arm had been cut off. He couldn't cover his wounds, but he couldn't help but make sounds of pain. Next time, it's your head. Yi Hao looked at the other party and said coldly. Extraordinary talent. Flying sword. As a sword cultivator, Zhou Lin recognized the flying sword in front of him at a glance. It was an extraordinary talent flying sword. This was the talent he had dreamed of getting, and it actually appeared in the other party. Now I can explain clearly why I was attracted to the other person in the first place. I'm afraid it's because of the opponent's flying sword talent. Although the flying sword talent is only 1 level higher than his sword mastery. But at such a level, the two are worlds apart. Fortunately, it seems that the opponent has just awakened this talent and has not yet mastered the correct way to use the flying sword. If after acquiring the corresponding martial arts and techniques, the opponent would at least be able to enter the top 100 of the genius list. This is the terrifying nature of extraordinary swordsmanship talent. The third talent. When will I be able to see this guy's limit? In Zhao Li's body, Zhao Xuaning could clearly see the flying sword in front of Yi Hao through the opponent's vision. Naturally, he recognized this as an extraordinary talent. Thinking about the opponent's previous talent that got stronger with each battle, I couldn't help but fall into deep thought. The opponent's performance is no weaker than those people's. I'm afraid, only those guys in the high-level secret realm can compare. Yi Hao, do you really want to kill everyone? Lin Jia looked at her friend whose arm was cut off, with a slight frown on her cold face. She couldn't believe that the mud-legged guy in front of her really dared to do something. Everyone keep an arm, and I can let you go. Yi Hao looked at the woman in front of him indifferently, his tone cold. You. Lin Jia's face instantly turned livid, and the mud-legged man in front of her actually wanted her to break off one of her arms. She looked at her right arm and gritted her teeth. Fell into silence. We fought with you. Zhang Yu was furious, then looked at Lin Jia and looked at her. Lin Jia understood instantly and used blessing and another advanced talent enhancement on Zhang Yu. Strengthening. Advanced talent, which can temporarily improve the grade of something and increase its combat power. This time, Lin Jia chose to strengthen the second-grade blood knife in Zhang Yu's hand, raising it to the third grade. The crimson blood knife exudes terrifying power. If Zhang Yu hadn't received the attribute bonus from the blessing, he might not be able to master the third-grade blood knife in his hand. This is already the weapon of a master-level powerhouse. It's just a shape. Yi Hao looked at the bloody knife in the opponent's hand with disdain. The third-grade treasure has already given birth to a trace of spirituality. Grandmaster-level experts have their own artistic conception, and with the blessing of both, they can play the role of third-grade treasures. There is no one on the other side, it's just in form. Break. Yi Hao had already stacked up the Conqueror, and the Tezu Long Fist was launched directly. The materialized figure behind him also used the Tezu Chong Fist. Not good. Lin Jia looked at the materialized artistic conception behind Yi Hao, with a look of horror on her face. The power of substantive artistic conception is a grandmaster level method. Could it be possible that the other party is a powerful master? Lin Jia, who originally wanted to cause trouble for the other party after going out, also became very ugly. In an era when kings were not born, the Grand Master was the pinnacle of combat power in the world. Even in their family, the Grand Master is the strongest being. If her family knew that they had offended a great master, they would probably hand her over directly. Now she is also extremely regretful. If she hadn't listened to Ma Yuanliang, she wouldn't have done anything to him. The other disciples of the monster class were also frightened by the power of materializing the artistic conception and took a few steps back. Treat the other party as a great master. This guy has unlimited potential. As a great master of swordsmanship, Mr. Zhou naturally understood Yi Haosai's level as a martial artist. That's why he was so shocked. A martial artist possesses a substantive artistic conception that can only be possessed by a great master. This means that the other party has no bottleneck before advancing to Grand Master. Mr. Zhou, do I still have a chance? Looking at Yi Hao in front of him, who smashed the third-grade treasure with one punch, Bai Ling felt an inexplicable sense of loss in his heart, accompanied by a hint of throbbing. I thought I could crush the opponent with a high profile, but now I can only stand here, looking up at the opponent's peerless figure that is as dazzling as the blazing sun. There should be. Something strange flashed in Mr. Zhou's eyes. He seemed to have found a better existence than Bai Ling. Okay, everyone, stop it. Lu Chun appeared on the battlefield and commanded to separate the two men in the battle. Principal, if you come here one step later, someone will really die here. Ling Chonger came to Lu Chun and poured out the bitter water. When he was next to Yi Hao, he really felt the murderous intention in him. The other party really wants to kill these guys. You wait until I get back and clean them up one by one. Lu Chun glanced at Yi Hao, and after finding that the other party was not injured, he looked at the disciples of the monster class. He criticized harshly. Yes. Zhang Yu looked at the broken blood knife in his hand and was very glad that Lu Chun had arrived. If it had been later, he might not be able to stand. That guy on the other side is really deadly. Okay, everyone, let's go out, the secret realm is about to be sealed. Lu Chun directly issued an order to expel guests, and the next second he used the power of heaven to kick out all the disciples of the monster class. After kicking, he walked towards Yi Hao. Yi Hao, you and Shui Qilin. He also wanted to know whether Yi Hao was really related to Shui Qilin. I dug up the soul crystal hidden by the other party at the beginning, and I don't know the rest. Yi Hao answered truthfully. Lu Chun realized through his mental power that Yi Hao was not lying, and sighed. Then he reminded, "This time, you have offended all the disciples of the monster class. Please pay more attention during the martial arts test." "Yes." Yi Hao nodded. Afterwards, Lu Chun teleported Yi Hao and others. "What do they want to do?" Lu Chun looked at the illusory figure appearing next to him and murmured. "They have the power of rules in them. With my current level, I can't locate them at all. The illusory figure is the way of heaven in this world." He turned into a human form and shook his head at Lu Chun, indicating that he was powerless. "How much longer?" Lu Chun did not struggle with this issue, but turned around and asked. "You will be able to advance to the intermediate secret realm in 1 month at the latest. In this realm of heaven, one naturally understands what the other person means and speaks truthfully. Okay, next, you can advance in peace. I will seal the secret realm until you complete the advancement." Speaking of this, Lu Chun was silent for a long time before continuing. "Shui Qilin and Fire Qilin, don't worry about them. When they get what they want, they will leave naturally. The kings on the surface of the Dragon Kingdom are all responsible for guarding the high-level secret realm and will not easily appear on the Blue Star. The rest of the kings basically have the background of various top families and will not take action easily. Therefore, until the Water Unicorn and the Fire Unicorn did not cause any big trouble, the policy given by the Dragon Kingdom was to let it go." "Good." The heavenly Tao of this world nodded, and then returned to heaven and earth. "Yi Hao, are you okay? I was so anxious just now." Zhang Sa looked at Yi Hao, who appeared intact, and couldn't help but ask. Just now, he could only watch Yi Hao fighting alone. Even Zhao Li went up to help, which made him feel very guilty. "Don't you see, these guys are avoiding me?" Yi Hao laughed and pointed at the students in the monster class. Snort. Lin Jia heard Yi Hao's words and clenched her fists, wishing she could rush over and beat him up right now. But thinking that he was just an assistant, he could only bite his teeth hard. Then leave quickly. She was really afraid that she would be angered to death by the other party's words. "It's okay." Zhang Sa nodded seriously, and then looked at Zhao Li curiously. "Zhao Li, why did your realm return to that of a warrior?" He remembered that when the opponent rushed forward, the aura that erupted was definitely that of a martial artist, and he was an extremely powerful martial artist. "Okay, everyone has their own secrets, so don't ask." Yi Hao stopped Zhang Sa, who wanted to continue asking, and shook his head gently. Zhao Li also looked at Yi Hao gratefully. "This little guy seems to have discovered me." Zhao Xuaning looked at the other party's expression and knew that the other party had discovered his existence. However, she was too lazy to explain. "I guess it won't be long before word gets out about Yi Hao that you obtained the soul crystal." Zhang Sa suddenly thought about the soul crystal and couldn't help but look at Yi Hao, full of worry. Although Yi Hao is now powerful, his strength is limited. If there was a grandmaster level being who took action shamelessly, he would have no recourse at all. "I'm not afraid, I'm just afraid that those guys will take action against my family." Yi Hao's eyes flashed with murderous intent. He knew these aristocratic families very well. Before touching their interests, they were very kind. But if their interests are touched, they will turn into evil wolves and devour them. "Yi Hao, take Aunt Yi to Louis Square. That's the territory of our Zhao family, and they don't dare to act openly." Zhao Li made a proposal. "Yes, you can go to Zhao's house." Only then did Zhang Sa remember that the rich woman Zhao Li was there. The other party is the only daughter of the head of the Zhao family. The Zhao family is one of the 4 major families in Anhai City, and they will definitely be able to protect Aunt Yi's safety. That's all it can do. Yi Hao thought for a while and nodded in agreement. Then he looked at Zhao Li. "Then I'll trouble you." "No trouble, no trouble." Hearing that Yi Hao agreed, Zhao Li felt as if she had eaten honey, and her heart felt sweet. When Yi Hao's mother arrives, she can swipe her face like crazy. When the time comes, it won't be easy to capture Yi Hao. Then I'll go back to find my mother first, and I'll contact you later. In order to prevent long nights and many dreams, Yi Hao planned to go home first before making any plans. Yes, Zhao Li nodded obediently. During the battle, although it took a long time, the sky was still dark. Unfortunately, it was already early in the morning and there were no taxis around the school. Just when Yi Hao was about to fly with his sword, he found someone watching him in the dark, and there was a hint of surprise on his face. Then, with the other party's puzzled eyes, he walked towards an alley. Are you moving so fast? Yi Hao stopped and looked at the black figure appearing in front of him, full of curiosity. At this time, he regarded the other party as a killer sent by the children of those aristocratic families. Quote. Ding Lan frowned and looked at Yi Hao in front of him, although he didn't understand this kid's weird behavior. But the other party is the target that the employer wants to hunt, so he only needs to be responsible for the hunting. After completing this order, he can take a good rest. As for the massage parlor in Chaotu, no matter how many times he went there, he would never. Forehead. Suddenly, he felt a little moist heat appear on his neck. Wiping it away with his hands, he could only feel his consciousness rapidly disintegrating. Immediately afterwards, blood spurted out uncontrollably. What are you thinking about? Yi Hao withdrew his flying sword, gently wiped off the blood on it, and then frowned and looked at the fallen guy. Organized by Night Owl, Yi Hao rummaged through the opponent's body and found a silver-white token with the opponent's nickname engraved on the front and a lifelike black owl engraved on the back. He recognized the other party as the famous assassination organization, Night Owl. I immediately lost interest. This kind of assassination organization can be hired if you have money, but if you want to find out the employer, it will be extremely difficult. The silvery white color seems to represent the master. Looking at the guy who was instantly killed by him, Yi Hao felt a little incredible. Not long ago, the existence that was like a god in front of him was now killed by him in an instant. Things really are unpredictable. Go back first. Yi Hao looked at the guy on the ground, took out the mobile phone in his arms, and chose to call the police. Then, he walked towards his home. Not long after, he returned home. Mom. Yi Hao looked at the intact door and breathed a sigh of relief, then opened the door with the key and walked in. He knocked gently on his mother's door. The food is in the refrigerator. Just make it yourself. Don't disturb my sleep. Yi Mu's voice then sounded, her tone full of laziness. Fortunately, it's okay. Yi Hao finally relaxed completely. Then I randomly found some food in the refrigerator and returned to the room. Now, his mental strength has recovered well, and he plans to practice star observation again. Tomorrow morning, I will take the other party to Louis Square. There is a soul crystal on his body. It is even suspected to have an extraordinary relationship with Shui Qilin. Even if it was just a guess, those aristocratic families would not let him go. Why are these guys here again? Yi Mu, who was sleeping on the bed, opened her eyes and looked at the black figure appearing outside the window, frowning slightly. The next second, a wisp of red gold flame appeared out of thin air behind the black figure. Before touching the other party's body, the black figure was turned into nothingness by the blazing temperature. Not even a sound was made. After seeing that it was finally quiet, Yi Mu fell asleep with satisfaction. Early the next morning, Yi Hao told his mother about going to Louis Avenue. Going to that girl's house. Yi Mu's eyes lit up as she seemed to have thought of something. It's the same Zhao Li's family who came to my house last time. Yi Hao looked at his mother's expression and knew that she was thinking wrongly, so he could only nod helplessly. Okay, let's go then. Yi Mu did not refuse anymore. Although those bugs could be easily crushed to death by themselves, they still disturbed my sleep. For the sake of her own sleep and her son's happiness, she chose to agree. After eating, Yi Mu put everything she needed into her space ring and followed Yi Hao. I always feel like I've forgotten something. Mother Yi stood in the community, looking in the direction of her home, frowning slightly. She seems to have forgotten something very important. But for a while I couldn't remember what it was. Mom, what's wrong? Yi Hao looked at his mother who stopped and asked curiously. Nothing. Yi Mu shook her head, stopped thinking about it, and then walked towards the car with Yi Hao. Soon, Yi Hao sent his mother to Louis Square and handed it over to Zhao Li. Zhao Li also prepared a room for Mother Yi early, which was only dozens of meters away from where she lived. You can even eat there every day. Go get some martial arts skills. Yi Hao thought about his martial arts skills. He only had Teizu Long Fist, which was really lacking. Now that the existence of the soul crystal has been exposed, it is better to exchange it for martial arts and treasures to increase one's combat power. Thinking of this, he walked directly towards Wanji Mall. Quote. Li Chang looked at Yi Hao, who appeared in front of him, his eyelids twitching. He thought that Ding Lan, who had no contact, had completed his mission long ago, so he disappeared. After all, this is the rule of the Night Owl organization. But now seeing the intact Yi Hao means that the other party's disappearance has truly disappeared. Manager Li seems to be very curious about my appearance. Yi Hao's mental power was so strong that he naturally noticed the other party's strangeness and asked curiously. Seeing that the other party was silent, he thought of what happened last night, and a strange look appeared on his face. Manager Li, I was hunted by the Night Owl organization last night. It couldn't be related to you, right? The last time he took the opponent's inner elixir of a 4th-level Demon King, it was a valuable treasure of heaven and earth. Now that I think about it, the possibility of the other party taking action is extremely high. Guest, you are joking. I have only met you once. How could I cause trouble for you? If there is nothing else, I will leave first. There are still things waiting for me to deal with. After speaking, Li Chang left. When he turned the corner, his expression turned completely cold. I originally thought that the master level could easily deal with the opponent. Unexpectedly, he would have to take action in the end. Grand Master, Yi Hao sensed that the aura in the opponent's body seemed to be a little different from the great master he had seen. It's a bit weak and doesn't look like a being in this realm. This reminded him of the guy who used the spirit gathering array to reach the pinnacle of martial arts. Now it seems that manager Li Chang is that guy's boss. Yi Hao murmured. Then, he walked upstairs and came to the floor where heavenly materials and earthly treasures were sold. Guest, what do you need to buy? We have most of the natural materials and treasures on the market. As soon as Yi Hao entered, Zhuo Ya walked up on black high heels. The skin is as white as snow, with a little bit of blood. She is tall and wears an extremely slim-fitting purple cheongsam with many exotic flowers and plants embroidered on it. A section of snow-white, round thighs was exposed. He couldn't help but look at it a few more times. The sweet voice also made him feel happy. Is there any natural treasure that can improve the talent level? Yi Hao thought of the earth fruit he had taken before and advanced his sign in talent to the intermediate level in advance. If you can get enough heavenly materials and earthly treasures, can you upgrade your signing talent to a high level? Sir, these are all the materials in our pavilion that can improve the talent level. After getting Yi Hao's request, Zhuo Ya took out a tablet, called up the information about heavenly materials and earthly treasures related to improving the talent level, and then handed it to Yi Hao. Yi Hao nodded with satisfaction and looked at the information on the tablet. Sir, you can go to the rest area and sit and watch. Zhuo Ya reminded with a smile. No need. Yi Hao shook his head and returned the tablet to the other party. Zhuo Ya was a little disappointed when the other party returned the tablet to her, but she still took it back with a smile and said, Sir, do you feel dissatisfied with these treasures of heaven and earth? You can also look at others. The natural treasures in our pavilion are all picked from the secret realm by a professional picking team, which can absolutely guarantee that no trace of medicinal efficacy is lost. Quote. No, Yi Hao shook his head gently. Then he spoke again. I want what you just showed me. You can calculate the price. After hearing Yi Hao's words, Zhuo Ya's beautiful eyes were widened at this time. She couldn't believe what she heard and subconsciously looked at Yi Hao. Seeing this, Yi Hao could only nod again. Go and prepare. Good. After getting the confirmation, Zhuo Ya quickly went to the counter and calculated the prices of these natural treasures. Not long after, he typed up the order and handed it to Yi Hao. Among them, there are 3 plants of the 4th grade, 10 plants of the 3rd grade, 32 plants of the 2nd grade, and 56 plants of the 1st grade. Altogether, there are 200,800 low-level soul stones. However, in the end, Zhuo Ya made the decision and saved a fraction of the 800 low-level soul stones. So the final price is 200,000 low-level soul stones. Converted into high-level soul stones, that's 20. These are 20 high-level soul stones. Take a look. After looking at the price, Yi Hao nodded with satisfaction, and then placed 20 high-grade soul stones on the counter. Guest, wait a moment. Looking at the high-grade soul stone on the counter, Zhuo Ya finally breathed a sigh of relief. Then came ecstasy. For this order, she drew 10%, which was 20,000 low-level soul stones. That was her usual half-year income. How could she not be happy? Not long after, Zuoya put the high-grade soul stone into the warehouse and took out the heavenly materials and earthly treasures purchased by Yi Hao. And a silver white card. This is. After taking back the heavenly materials and earthly treasures into the space ring, Yi Hao pointed to the silver white card beside him and said. However, he also roughly guessed the function of this card. Sure enough, Zuo Ya's words in the next second proved her guess. Sir, this is a silver card that can be obtained by spending 100,000 low-level soul stones at any store in Wanji Mall. With the card, you can enjoy a 50% discount when shopping. Zuo Ya explained. Well, I'll accept it then. Next time you still have that talent-improving treasure, please contact me. After speaking, Yi Hao and Zuo Ya exchanged contact information. After purchasing the heavenly materials and earthly treasures, Yi Hao came to the martial arts pavilion and purchased 2 second-grade fire attribute martial arts and 1 second-grade body technique. The price is several times that of the same level of heavenly materials and earthly treasures. If it were a month ago, he would definitely not be able to afford it. However, this is not what it used to be. These expenses are just a drop in the bucket for him now. Only fire attribute martial arts combined with fire attribute martial arts can increase his combat power to the limit. Buy a set of sword formations. Yi Hao stood at the door of the martial arts pavilion, and suddenly remembered the sword formation that Ling Chonger mentioned in private, which made him stop and walked back again. Sword formation is a formation composed of swords. The sword is there, the array is there. The sword comes out and the formation is formed. Possessing extremely terrifying power. Ordinary sword cultivators who want to practice sword formation need to control a sufficient number of swords. In this process, it takes a lot of energy and time to practice. And he has an extraordinary talent, flying sword. It directly eliminates the process required to control the sword. Coupled with the blessing of his talent, his control of flying swords far exceeds that of ordinary swordsmen, and the power of the sword formations he achieves is naturally far beyond ordinary. That's it. Soon, Yi Hao chose a second-grade sword formation, the Fierce Sun sword formation. It is also a fire attribute sword formation. When forming an array, the more swords you control, the more powerful they will be. After the formation is completed, a blazing sun can be condensed to burn everything. It is a very powerful sword formation. After buying the Fierce Sun sword array, Yi Hao bought a set of 3rd-grade protective gear and a set of 4th-grade protective gear. As for weapons, he had a flying sword, so he didn't buy any. Later, Yi Hao came to the training room on the 3rd underground floor of Wanji Mall. He found an empty training room and got into it. Improve your talents first. Yi Hao took out the treasures of heaven and earth he bought before and placed them on the ground. Then, he stuffed a 4th-grade sea heart fruit into his mouth. Daily sign in only intermediate talent, you can sign in once a day. Current level 1. Upgrade requirements. Sign in 10 times. The number of talent check-ins has been reduced by 5 times. Yi Hao looked at the number of upgrades required for the signed talent, which had become 10, and his face was full of excitement. Afterwards, he took out 2 heavenly materials and earthly treasures again to improve his signing talent. Successfully reduced the number of talent sign-ins by 10 times. Upgraded. Yi Hao's eyes were shining wildly and he was extremely excited. Daily sign-in, unique, advanced talent, you can sign in once a day. The income from signing in on the weekend is times 2. The income from signing in at the end of the month is times 4. The grade earned by signing in at the end of the year is increased by 1 level, and times 8. Current level 2. Upgrade requirements. Sign in 40 times. Weekends, the end of the month, the end of the year. Are they all special check-ins? Looking at the great change of signing talent, Yi Hao said to himself. But it is obvious that the sign-in talent becomes even more terrifying after advancement. Moreover, after the upgrade, the status of the sign-in talent has been refreshed. Seeing that his normal sign-in talent was restored, Yi Hao felt happy and directly chose to sign in. I want to see what rewards you can get for advanced sign-in. Sign in successfully. Congratulations on getting +1 magical power strengthening point. Supernatural power enhancement point. You can ignore the conditions and increase the level of a magical power by 1 level. It's actually this. Yi Hao looked at the magical power strengthening points he had obtained and remembered the skill points he had obtained before. We can only strengthen the silver heart. This is his only magical power at present, ranking at the intermediate level. The basic level of this magical power is the bronze heart, and the intermediate level is the silver heart that Yi Hao has at this time. The high level is the heart of gold. Strengthen, silver heart. Yi Hao did not hesitate and directly chose to strengthen the silver heart in his body. In just an instant, the silver heart in his body turned into golden color. The beating frequency is more than 10 times faster than before. The strengthening effect on qi and blood is also skyrocketing. It seems that it also gained an attack effect. Yi Hao discovered that if the golden heart, which has been upgraded to a high-level magical power, is activated with all its strength, it will emit a special frequency and produce terrifying power. After looking at the training room, he thought for a while and gave up the experiment. We can only wait until the next battle to try its power. Primal Awakening Stone. Looking at the primitive awakening stone that suddenly emitted a special rhythm in the space ring, Yi Hao frowned. After hesitating for a moment, he took the other person out. Quote. After the original awakening stone appeared in the training room, the heavenly materials and earthly treasures on the ground flew towards it. Yi Hao was puzzled, but he didn't stop him. He wanted to see what this primitive awakening stone wanted to do. So it was you who caused the ghost. After absorbing the heavenly materials and earthly treasures on the ground, the original awakening stone did not seem to be satisfied and began to absorb the energy from the ground. Like a whale swallowing, it absorbs the surrounding energy crazily. This scene reminded Yi Hao of the previous manager and the energy that disappeared from the spirit gathering circle. Now it seems that the culprit is the original awakening stone in front of me. Thinking of this, Yi Hao took out a bunch of high-level soul stones. After discovering the high-level soul stone, the original awakening stone in front of him instantly rolled it up and absorbed it. Slowly, wisps of awakening power condensed out. That's it. Looking at the result after spending so many soul stones, Yi Hao frowned. It seemed that he heard Yi Hao's complaints. The awakening power inside the original awakening stone began to gather together, eventually forming a light curtain. Ancient prose. Yi Hao stood up and looked at the white light curtain in front of him. Under his gaze, lines of ancient text appeared on the light screen. This made him even more excited. What was recorded in ancient texts must be something extraordinary. Fortunately, he had just studied the ancient text in front of him. It didn't take long for him to translate the ancient text above. What a ruthless secret technique. After understanding the meaning of the ancient text, Yi Hao's face was full of surprise. The secret technique recorded above is called the secret technique of purifying blood. Through secret techniques, the blood of a life can be stripped out and then fused to itself. In the end, the effect of melting all the veins of the heavens will be achieved. Such secret techniques are really terrifying. I don't know who put this secret technique on top of the original awakening stone. Yi Hao looked at the secret blood purification technique in his mind and fell into deep thought. How powerful it would be to be able to create such a secret technique. I'm afraid the legendary powerhouse beyond the limit cannot be compared with it. Integrate the blood of all heavens and worlds into yourself. Practice these martial arts first. Yi Hao looked at the original awakening stone that was still absorbing energy, and took out the second-grade martial skill he just purchased. He chose one of the second-grade martial arts, Red Flame Fire Palm. Start practicing. After spending a day, Yi Hao successfully mastered 2 martial arts and 1 movement technique. It took another half a day to get started with the practice of the Fierce Sun formation. This is thanks to Yi Hao's talent bonus. Extraordinary Flying Sword talent, Advanced Sign in talent, Advanced Conqueror talent, Intermediate Double Attack talent, Low-level Recovery talent. The bonus effects of the 5 talents were superimposed, which raised Yi Hao's cultivation talents and understanding to a terrifying level. Only in this way can one learn so many martial arts skills in a short period of time. Now, he only needs to practice more to advance these martial arts to a higher level. During this period, Yi Hao signed in again. However, the reward he received this time was not good. It was only 1,000 points of defense, which made his defense reach the physical defense level of a 3rd-level monster. In other words, he is now immune to attacks below the level of a Grand Master. If you want to upgrade your advanced cultivation talent to a super talent, you still need to sign in 38 times. There is a long way to go. Looking at the promotion requirements for his signed talent, Yi Hao said to himself. I still need more heavenly materials and earthly treasures. Yi Hao sighed. Anhai City is still too small. He doesn't spend much money, so the other party has no supply of goods. Zhao Li, don't you go to the secret realm to practice. When Yi Hao returned to the room that Zhao Li had prepared for his mother, he naturally moved there too. When he saw Zhao Li in a floral skirt watching TV with her mother, he also asked curiously. It's time for the martial arts exam, let's take a good rest. Moreover, the school's secret realm has been sealed and I can't enter. Quote. Zhao Li saw Yi Hao coming back, a flash of excitement flashed in her eyes, and she also explained. Okay. Yi Hao naturally knew that this was just the other party's rhetoric and he did not expose it. Then he walked towards his bedroom. Aunt Yi, I'm going to talk to Yi Hao about something. Zhao Li watched Yi Hao walk into the bedroom and stood up, but she didn't forget to say to Yi's mother beside her. Go ahead. A strange smile appeared on Mother Yi's face, and then she stepped aside to let the other party pass. Monitor, I'm coming in. After saying that, Zhao Li opened the bedroom door and walked in. Is something wrong? Yi Hao was about to turn on his mobile phone and browse Douyin. Looking at Zhao Li who appeared, she also asked curiously. The secret trial realm for the martial arts test has been confirmed. Zhao Li didn't hide anything and said it directly. How do you know that the secret trial realm is usually revealed the day before the martial arts test? Yi Hao frowned. Every year's martial arts examinations are basically conducted in secret realms. As for the secret trial realm of the martial arts test, it will not be revealed until the day before the martial arts test. My dad told me that he is one of the examiners this time. Zhao Li stuck out her tongue in embarrassment and said. In fact, this is considered an early leak. That secret realm. Yi Hao smiled. Red Flame Secret Realm, Zhao Li said directly. Intermediate Secret Realm, Red Flame Secret Realm. Yi Hao was stunned for a moment, then frowned. The primary secret realm can accommodate the existence of the second-order peak realm, and it is also the peak martial artist. The previous martial arts exams in Anhai City were basically at this level. This year it is an intermediate secret realm. You must know that the intermediate secret realm can accommodate the highest peak grandmaster. The degree of danger is far beyond what high-level secret realms can compare to. These are all the consequences of those transfer students. The appearance of the fire unicorn in the secret realm of the back mountain was still not concealed. People in other big cities knew about it. Just yesterday, there were 6 transfer students at the master level. The originally designated low-level secret realm was changed to an intermediate secret realm. Quote. Zhao Li explained. Grandmaster level, aren't they all admitted in advance? Why do you still come to participate? Before Yi Hao finished speaking, he realized something and his face turned livid. That's right, they are all here for you, squad leader. I don't know who spread the rumor, saying that you signed a contract with the water unicorn, and if they find you, they can find the location of the water unicorn. Quote. Zhao Li looked at Yi Hao's face that changed instantly and understood that the other party had discovered the seriousness of the problem. This group of masters can do anything for Shui Qilin. Otherwise, squad leader, you should choose to give up taking the martial arts exam. With your strength, you can be specially recruited into a slightly weaker martial arts university without taking this risk. Seeing that Yi Hao didn't speak, Zhao Li said her own idea. It's okay, I just wanted to meet these proud people. Yi Hao shook his head gently and did not choose to give up. He wanted to see what these guys had to rely on. Zhao Li didn't know how to persuade the other party. This little guy is full of blood. Zhao Xuaning's voice full of appreciation sounded in her mind. Yi Hao, you have a classmate looking for you. Yi Mu's voice suddenly sounded. Who is coming? Yi Hao glanced at Zhao Li, then stood up and walked towards the door. When he saw the black figure appearing in the living room, he also frowned. Why are you here? The person coming is none other than Zhou Lin. I don't know how the other party knew he was here. Xiao Hao, be polite to your classmates. Yi Mu took the poured tea and placed it in front of Zhou Lin. She turned her head and criticized Yi Hao. Mom, don't worry, this is not my classmate. Yi Hao sat down directly. Mother Yi shook her head and went to the living room to watch TV. Yi Hao, you are being targeted by many people now. If you tell me the location of Shui Qilin, I guarantee that they will never come to you again. Zhou Lin pushed the tea away from him in disgust, then stared into Yi Hao's eyes and said, I really don't know. Yi Hao frowned. He really didn't know how to find the water unicorn. Yi Hao, are you sure you don't want to tell me? Zhou Lin's eyes turned one black and one white, exuding special magic power. Just when Yi Hao was about to say something, his mind suddenly shook and he returned to normal. Then, he frowned and looked at the other person's strange eyes. He recognized these legendary black and white eyes. Unexpectedly, he almost fell into the trap. Fortunately, his sea of consciousness is protected by flying swords. When the other party bewitched him, the flying sword played its role and dispelled the strange eye power. It's okay. Looking at Yi Hao, who regained his clarity in an instant, Zhou Lin's eyes were full of shock. This was the first time his black and white eyes looked so defeated. The last time Huo Qilin was around, it was because his realm was not as good as the other parties, not because of his black and white eyes. But now, the black and white eyes actually failed on a martial artist. He is a master. This result was difficult for him to accept. Anger rushed to his forehead instantly. If you want to take action, go out and do it. Don't damage this place. Yi Hao felt the fighting spirit rising in the opponent's body and frowned. This was lent to him by Zhao Li, and he couldn't just destroy it like this. Classmate Yi Hao, see you for the martial arts exam. Zhou Lin's right fist clenched and then unclenched, the veins on his arm popped out, and then returned to its original state. This means that he is trying hard to control his mood. Finally, he controlled his temper. Yi Hao, can you not go? Seeing Zhou Lin leaving, Zhao Li couldn't help but speak. This time, she didn't call the other party monitor, but called him by his first name. Zhou Lin is not an ordinary grandmaster, he is a famous person on the list of geniuses. He is also a powerful swordsman. She didn't think Yi Hao could win. Believe me, Yi Hao looked at Zhao Li, who cared about him, and felt warm in his heart. He couldn't help but touch the other person's head. Very intimate. I'm too lazy to care about you. Feeling the charming atmosphere, Zhao Li's little face instantly turned blood red, and she couldn't hold on and ran away. This boy. Yi Mu on the sofa shook her head helplessly. Inadvertently, she looked at the 3 relics on the wall. He murmured softly, it should be soon. Her son's ability to cause trouble is no less than that of his father. Even the best is better than the old. I'm afraid it won't be long before this relic can be used. There are still 3 days left before the martial arts test. Yi Hao has been staying in the training room of Wanji Mall in the past few days, practicing his sword formation. With the blessing of Feijian, the fierce sun sword formation improved the fastest. Became his best choice. During this period, he successfully signed in twice. Obtained 3 skill points and advanced Blood Demon Bloodline. Skill points can increase the proficiency of martial arts and exercises by 1 level. Yi Hao did not choose to fuse the advanced Blood Demon Bloodline. After absorbing the Blood Demon's bloodline, it will become extremely ugly. It can even affect a person's character and become bloodthirsty. Of course, as a high-level bloodline, the Blood Demon bloodline is naturally extremely powerful. Able to enhance one's own strength by absorbing blood. Let's use skill points. It took Yi Hao more than 2 days to practice the fierce sun sword formation to a small degree. There is still a long way to go before reaching the next level of proficiency. Thinking of this, he did not hesitate and directly chose to use the skill points. Xiaocheng, proficient, proficient, Dacheng, Dacheng, great perfection. The skill point rewarded by the sign in talent is domineering. In just a few seconds, the fierce sun sword formation has been transformed from a small success to a great perfection. The formation is complete. Yi Hao waved his hand, and 32 flying swords instantly formed a sword formation in the air. Above his head, a golden sun quickly condensed. With the infusion of qi and blood in the body, and the blessing of the flying sword, the power of the sun became more and more terrifying, and the scorching heat seemed to want to burn everything around it. The diamond rocks in the practice room also showed signs of melting. You know, this is a stone that can withstand a master-level attack. Now it's actually going to be roasted. Receive. Yi Hao felt the power of the fierce sun sword formation and lost interest in continuing to use it. After taking back the flying sword, he returned home. Tomorrow morning, I will go to the secret realm to take the martial arts test. He stopped practicing. Congratulations on successfully signing in and gaining 1000 points of blood. The next second, a powerful burst of energy and blood burst out from Yi Hao's body. Qi and blood successfully exceeded 1000. What's going on? Feeling the surge of energy and blood in his body, Yi Hao frowned. Logically speaking, once the qi and blood reach 1000 and possess the artistic conception, one can become a master. But now he clearly has 1600 points of qi and blood, and has materialized the artistic conception, but he has not entered the master realm, which really puzzles him. I see. However, Yi Hao quickly found relevant information on the internet. At this time, his potential has far exceeded the limit of this realm. In other words, he can currently obtain more energy and blood in the martial arts realm. In this way, after becoming a master, his foundation will become even deeper. Seeing this, he also breathed a sigh of relief. Early the next morning, Zhao Li was waiting for Yi Hao. After eating breakfast, Yi Hao also took Zhao Li's private car and headed to school. After arriving at the school buses arranged by the school had already parked all over the campus. This way, Zhang Sa waved her hand in the distance, gesturing towards Yi Hao and the others. Let's go. Yi Hao nodded and walked in the direction of Zhang Sa. This is a positioning jade plaque, one for each person. Looking at Yi Hao and Zhao Li, Zhang Sa took out a jade tablet from the space ring and divided it into 3 parts. 1 serving per person. When you get close, the jade tablet will sense. This is also the best way to find companions in the secret realm. However, this time it is an intermediate secret realm. The area inside is several times that of the primary secret realm. Even if there is a jade token, they may not be able to meet each other. Let's go. In the car, Yi Hao murmured as he watched Lulu start the cars one after another. Finally, it's time for the martial arts exam day. Yi Hao, the teacher has sent out the assessment tasks for this time. Zhang Sa looked at the notification that popped up and quickly reminded Yi Hao, who was still in a daze. Let me see. Yi Hao nodded and took out his mobile phone. I looked at the assessment task this time. Since it was an intermediate level secret realm, the time for this martial arts test was changed from 1 day to 3 days. However, most ordinary students can only persist for 1 day. The first day's assessment is to kill the first order monster. Each time you kill a first level monster, you get 1 point. If it is a team kill, the killer gets 0.5 points, and the other team members share 0.5 points equally. The first 1000 people can enter the second level assessment. That is the assessment on the second day. Fine. Looking at the content of this assessment, Yi Hao fell into deep thought. Fortunately, the number of transfer students is not large, otherwise there would be no local students at all. 3 hours later, more than 30,000 candidates in Anhai City gathered at the entrance of the Kai Yan secret realm. Old Zhao, let's start. The heads of the 4 major families in Anhai City, the principals of major high schools, and the admissions teachers of colleges and universities are all stepping on the void at this time. The head of the Qian family looked at the students below, with a warm smile on his face. Then he said to the head of the Zhao family on the side, who was Zhao Li's father. The head of the Zhao family nodded slightly, then pointed his right hand in the void. Not far away, a blue portal with a height of more than 10 feet suddenly appeared. Gray mist slowly overflowed from the portal. The assessment begins. The head of the Zhao family took out a 3-eared tripod from his arms and obtained a small part of the heavenly authority of the Red Flame secret realm. As his words fell, the gray fog on the ground instantly enveloped the students on the ground. Involved them in the secret realm. Immediately afterwards, white light curtains appeared in front of the blue portal. These 100 white light curtains correspond to the top 100 points. Of course, the white light curtain is still empty now. However, soon the candidates appeared on the largest screen of light. But in just a few seconds, someone took the other person's place. Immediately afterwards, more and more students were listed. It's actually here. Yi Hao raised his head and looked at the 3-wheeled sun hanging high, his eyes full of helplessness. Surrounded by endless yellow sand, there is not a trace of green. There are still monsters there. If there are no monsters, how can he get points by killing them? By then, I'm afraid I won't even be able to pass the first level and will be eliminated. It stands to reason that during the martial arts exam, candidates will not be teleported to such a place. Yi Hao frowned, feeling that he was teleported to the desert on purpose. Because the secret realms required for martial arts examinations are basically entities where humans have the authority of heaven. Therefore, the location of the transmission has been determined. Basically, it will only be teleported to a place where monsters gather. Deserts with few monsters like this are not considered at all. It's better to get out of the desert first. Yi Hao took out his flying sword and prepared to fly out of the desert. I want to find a place where monsters gather. Quote. Just when Yi Hao was about to wield his sword, he found that his flying sword was buzzing, as if something was trying to take the flying sword away from his hand. Seeing this, he withdrew his flying sword and released his mental power to check everything around him. Soon he discovered that he had fallen into a magic circle at some point. The reason why the previous flying swords had strange phenomena was because this formation had the effect of devouring weapons. First it was teleported to the desert, and it happened to be teleported into the magic circle. What a big deal. Yi Hao said to himself. This matter should be related to the aristocratic families in Anhai City. Only they have the authority of heaven. Can you finally give it up? Suddenly, Yi Hao felt the presence of life in the distance and turned around to look. In the distance, the sand continued to rise, and the dust rolled up, rolling up hundreds of meters of yellow sand. When he got closer to Yi Hao, he finally revealed his true face. It was actually a titan python that was more than 10 feet long. Its whole body was covered with dense yellow scales. Each one was comparable to a third-grade treasure and possessed terrifying defensive power. There is a single horn on the top of its head, with a silver-white thunder snake circling on it. Yi Hao, you still fell into my hands. A female voice came from the top of Titanoboa's head. It's actually you. Yi Hao recognized that the other party was the auxiliary martial artist who besieged him originally. Unexpectedly, the other party actually has a third-level Titan Python as a beast. He is worthy of being a disciple of a noble family, and his background is terrifying. As long as Ahe is here, you'd better just go ahead and capture him. Lin Jia stood high above, looking at Yi Hao in the formation, full of confidence. The Titan Python beneath her feet was a real third-level monster, equivalent to a human Grandmaster warrior. It also has a powerful high-level bloodline. Since it is a fourth-level monster, Titan Python can also compete with it. Did you set up this formation? Yi Hao frowned and looked at the formations around him. I set it up. High in the sky, a voice came. It was a young man with an expressionless face who admitted what he had done very calmly. Li Wuyu, if I didn't ask you to sit in the trenches, why did you come out? Lin Jia frowned, very dissatisfied that the other party did not do as promised. It's useless to talk. Let's take action. Yi Hao looked at the two people in front of him. He wanted to take out the flying sword, and then he recorded that this magic circle had the ability to swallow weapons, and then gave up. Then he tapped the ground with his right foot, and like a cannonball, he rushed directly towards the two people in the sky. However, he has become a master. At high altitude, Li Wuyu felt the extremely rich energy and blood in the opponent's body, and his face instantly became gloomy. Then he waved his right hand and disappeared directly into the formation eye. Only with him at the center of the formation can the true power of the 8 gates of forbidden demons be unleashed. The next second, a huge energy condensed into a broadsword and slashed at Yi Hao, who was rising up. Titanoboa also entered the formation, its huge body spiraling up, crowding the formation. The next second, he opened his big mouth and bit directly at Yi Hao. Roll. Yi Hao used the Feiyan movement technique, and his speed suddenly increased. He punched out and shattered the sword in front of him. The next second, he disappeared from the spot. Titanoboa, with its pupils the size of wheels, frantically scanned the surroundings, trying to find Yi Hao's location. Lin Jia, he is looking for you. Through the magic circle, Li Wuyu discovered Yi Hao's location. When he saw the other party heading straight for Lin Jia, he quickly reminded him loudly. Ah hey, Thunder Snake Strike. Lin Jia heard Li Wuyu's reminder and quickly reminded the Titan Python on his body. At the same time, she also exerted a blessing effect on Titanoboa and strengthened the opponent's horn. The opponent's strength has been horribly improved. The next second, Titanoboa raised his body high, opened his huge mouth and let out a roar. The terrifying power of thunder and lightning converged on the horn. Immediately afterwards, terrifying thunder snakes shot in all directions. It's interesting. Yi Hao also felt the terror of the thunder snake and retreated repeatedly, but was still hit by one of the thunder snakes. The clothes on his right arm were instantly burned to ashes and turned pitch black. Feeling the pain coming from his right arm, he also took a breath of air. It seems like I haven't been hurt in a while. Yi Hao looked at his right arm and sighed. It's a pity that his defense is too high. Under the effect of the low-level recovery talent, his right arm quickly returned to its original state. How is this possible? Seeing this scene, Lin Jia's beautiful eyebrows couldn't stop beating. You must know that this is Titan Python's natal magical power. Although it is only a low-level magical power, with the blessing of her two major talents, even a strong man at the Grand Master level does not dare to use his physical body to force it. But the other party took a hard blow and was unscathed. This result was really hard for her to accept. Teizu Chengquan. A terrifying figure appeared behind Yi Hao. The two merged into one and punched the Titan Python in front of him. Although Teizu Chengquan is only a first-level martial arts, it has reached the level of artistic conception, which is far beyond the second-level martial arts that has just been introduced. It is also his best choice. Boom! Full layer of Conqueror plus double attack. With the blessing of terror, this attack is extremely terrifying. Feeling the fatal threat, Titanoboa turned his head and ran towards the outside of the formation. Ah hey! Lin Jia, who was standing overhead, still didn't know what was happening, and wanted to use the method of control to make the Titanoboa obey his orders. But at the critical moment of life and death, and with Lin Jia's strength only at the level of a martial artist, the third-level Titan Python simply ignored the opponent's orders. Die! Yi Hao didn't care what your origins were. He stepped on the flying swallow steps, jumped up directly, and caught up with the Titan Python. Ignoring the thunder snakes, he punched Titanoboa in the head. Chapter 71. The Titan Python's head was instantly blown open by Yi Hao. Bathed in blood, he turned around and flew towards Lin Jia. Yi Hao, you will regret it. Lin Jia looked at Yi Hao, her eyes filled with resentment, and she directly chose to exit the secret realm and disappeared. Seeing Lin Jia who had disappeared, Li Wuyu also sighed slightly, then withdrew the formation, and also chose to withdraw. He is good at trapping enemies. If he were an ordinary warrior, his formation would also have the ability to attack, but it was a pity that he encountered the monster in front of him. Even Titanoboa couldn't stop him, so there was no point in keeping him. It's really troublesome. Seeing the two people disappearing, Yi Hao's face was filled with gloom. Just now, he had murderous intentions. It's a pity that secret realms controlled by humans have this kind of protection method. If you really want to kill, you can only use forbidden weapons or formations to block the perception of heaven. Otherwise, if you want to kill him, it will be as difficult as climbing to the sky. Just when Yi Hao was about to leave, he suddenly stopped and looked at the Titan Python on the ground. The bright red blood dyed large areas of sand red. Titanoboa's bloodline is also a high-level bloodline. If it were an ordinary warrior, seeing the other party would lead to death. He couldn't waste it. Thinking of this, he directly used the secret blood purification technique. A strange blood-red magic circle appeared on the ground, completely covering the entire Titan Python. Not long after, the body of the sky-swallowing python exploded. Its flesh and blood seemed to be in an invisible millstone, being constantly crushed. At the same time, a drop of blood appeared in the sky above the blood-red magic circle, which was vivid and exuding a faint fragrance. I actually have a desire to devour each other. Yi Hao looked at the blood in front of him. His body screamed silently, I want to swallow the blood in front of me. This is a great tonic. It would benefit him greatly. As time goes by, Titanoboa's flesh and blood has been completely stripped away, leaving only dense white bones. Just when Yi Hao thought it was over, the white bones on the blood array made a clicking sound, as if they had been run over by something and turned into powder. Soon, these powders were integrated into the drop of blood. The originally blood-red blood had a touch of silvery white in it. Is this the completely refined blood essence? Looking at the blood flying towards him, Yi Hao stretched out his hand to catch it, and the magic circle disappeared. His body was roaring, trying to swallow the blood in front of him. After thinking for a while, Yi Hao directly swallowed the blood in his hands. In just an instant, this drop of blood blended into his flesh and blood. Advanced bloodline can at least allow my bloodline to evolve once. Yi Hao looked at the motionless body and fell into deep thought. According to the records on the secret art of blood purification, when ordinary humans devour blood, the more advanced the blood, the better the effect they will obtain. It stands to reason that since he has no bloodline in his body, the bloodline of the Titan Python can at least raise his bloodline level by 1 level. But now, there is no reaction. Then there are only 2 possibilities, that is, he has a very powerful bloodline in his body, and the bloodline of Titan Python cannot yet have the effect of activating the bloodline in his body. The second possibility is that his bloodline is so low that even a high-level bloodline cannot improve his bloodline. Of these 2 possibilities, he prefers the latter. After all, his parents don't have any special bloodline. Forget it, if you kill a few more high-level bloodlines, I don't believe you can't be promoted. Yi Hao thought about it, but there was no good way. He could only continue to absorb these high-level bloodlines. One day, his bloodline will be improved. Thinking of this, he no longer struggled. He summoned the flying sword and flew towards the distance. Zhao Li failed. Seeing that the golden light spot belonging to Zhao Li disappeared on the 3rd grade treasure mirror, but the golden light spot belonging to Yi Hao was still there, Ma Yuanliang's face became even more ugly. He knew that this woman was more likely to fail than succeed, so he thought he was invincible with the help of his own 3rd-level Titan Python. The result was that he was kicked out. It really disgraced their aristocratic family. If he joins forces with them, relying on the treasures in their hands, coupled with the opponent's Titan Python and auxiliary talents, even Yi Hao will not be able to escape death. It's a pity that the other party was too arrogant and left the other party directly. I heard that Lin Jia came here this time, Li Wuyu from the Li family, a well-known formation family. Dang Gan, whose right arm was chopped off by Yi Hao, followed him this time. He suddenly thought of something and quickly reminded him. When he heard that Li Wuyu had arrived, Ma Yuanliang's face instantly became gloomy and uncertain. Now Lin Jia has withdrawn from the martial arts exam. Doesn't it mean that neither of them can be Yi Hao's opponent together? Thinking of this, there was a hint of hesitation in his tone. Otherwise, we'd better give up. Ma Yuanliang, you actually want to back down. Seeing Ma Yuanliang about to retreat, Dang Qian was furious and Yi Hao chopped off his right arm. He will remain like this until he becomes a great master. He vowed not to be a human being unless he took revenge. But, are the 7 of us really our opponents? Ma Yuanliang looked at Dang Gan in front of him, then turned to look at the remaining 5 people. When they saw Ma Yuanliang's gaze, they also lowered their heads. Originally they were still high in fighting spirit, but after hearing that Li Wuyu plus Titan Python plus Zhao Li were no match for Yi Hao, like Ma Yuanliang, they lost their fighting spirit. HMPH, look, what is this? Seeing the dejected people, Dang Gan knew that if he didn't take action, the team would disperse. He gently wiped the jade ring on his hand, and a silver-white puppet appeared in front of them. 4th-level puppet. Looking at the puppet in front of them, Ma Yuanliang and others stood up excitedly. The fighting spirit in his heart surged again. Now, separate to find Yi Hao's location. After you find it, use the magic weapon to inform others. Remember not to fight alone again. Dang Gan, who had a 4th-level puppet, replaced Ma Yuanliang's leadership position and became the temporary boss of the 7-member group. Then, he issued his own order. Yes, Red Fire Ant. Yi Hao finally found the plane and the monster. Red Fire Ants. This is also the largest ethnic group in the Red Flame Secret Realm, No. 1. The Red Flame Secret Realm is also named because of the existence of Red Fire Ants. The Red Fire Ants in the secret territory of Zhao Li's family were also transplanted from here. When Yi Hao discovered the other party also discovered Yi Hao in the distance and ran directly towards him. Courage is commendable. Yi Hao looked at the Red Fire Ants who were only at the 1st level but dared to attack him, with a smile on his face. After taking the body of the Red Fire Ant back into the space ring, Yi Hao looked at the integrator in his hand. As shown above, he scored a total of 101 points. The third order Titan Python killed was also counted into the points by the heavenly Tao of this world. The first level Red Fire Ant has 1 point, and the third level Titanoboa has 100 points, which is exactly 101 points. With 101 points, Yi Hao successfully ranked 1000th. And the 100th place already has 200 points. There was no way, he wasted too much time in the desert. Fortunately, now he has left the desert and arrived at the plains where there are many monsters. It is only a matter of time to catch up with the people in front. Killing another level 3 monster will replace the 100th place. Yi Hao murmured. It's a pity that third level monsters are equivalent to strong masters. They possess wisdom that is not weaker than that of humans. They have refined their crossbones and can speak human words. It is not so easy to meet. Yi Hao continued walking towards the plain. The plain is covered with green grass more than 3 meters long. He was so high up in the sky that he couldn't see clearly what was going on below. In desperation, he could only give up flying and walk on the plains. At 182 centimeters tall, he couldn't see the way forward clearly after he was submerged in the grass. He pushed aside the grass blocking him and made a rustling sound. Now, he can only move forward based on his feelings. Fortunately, his mental power was playing a huge role at this moment, allowing him to find his prey even in dense grass. Soon, a big golden lion appeared within the range of his mental perception. Seeing this, he couldn't help but show a satisfied smile on his face. Accelerating speed, rushing directly in that direction. Soon, we arrived at the target location. It was a giant lion with a body length of 6 meters. The whole body was covered with golden hair, and the tips of the hair faintly emitted a faint purple light, which was extremely mysterious. At this time, he was lazily lying on the ground and resting. Behind it, there was a small tree less than 1 meter long, covered with fiery red branches and leaves, as if it had been burned by fire, which was very strange. On several of the branches, there were 1 or 2 thumb-sized fruits hanging, all red in color, and there seemed to be flowing fire swimming inside. It's actually the red flame fruit. Yi Hao looked at the fruit produced by the small tree and recognized the other person's identity at a glance. Red flame fruit. After eating it, one's own energy and blood can be imbued with red flame characteristics. In this way, the combat effectiveness can be increased to a certain extent. Unfortunately, the red flame fruit tree in front of us is only over 1 meter high, which means that the red flame fruit tree in front of us is only a first-level spiritual plant. The red flame fruit it produces naturally only reaches the first-grade level. After eating it, the red flame characteristics that can be added are very weak. At most, it can cause a little damage to the guy who has just become a warrior. To be able to have an effect on the current Yi Hao, at least a third-grade red flame fruit is required. I don't know if this thing can be transplanted. Yi Hao looked at the red flame tree, which was more than 1 meter high, and had the idea of taking the opponent away from the roots. Where the red flame tree lives, the more fire elements there are between heaven and earth, the faster it will grow. If the red flame tree was living next to magma at this time, it would probably have become a second-level spiritual plant. Call out. Looking at the giant golden lion, Yi Hao tapped his right finger gently, and the flying sword passed through the opponent's head in an instant. Let the other person fall asleep forever. Then, he walked towards the red flame tree. How to take it away? Yi Hao was in trouble because his space ring could only store dead objects. The red flame tree in front of him, once he puts it into the space ring, will probably lose its activity and become dead in a short time. This is something he absolutely cannot accept. That's it. There was no other way. Yi Hao could only uproot it, enlarge the flying sword and carry the red flame tree on his back. Rustle. Not long after Yi Hao advanced, he discovered a dozen red flame ants in front of him and quickly accelerated his speed. These were all points delivered to his door, and he couldn't waste them. When he arrived, he found that these red ants were actually attacking a gray wild wolf. This group of red flame ants are all of the first level, and the gray wolf they are besieging is a second-level monster. Unfortunately, this gray wolf is already old. If you look carefully, you can see that the gray hair on the other person's body is mixed with white hair. Its body had many wounds torn by red flame ants, and the flesh and blood on it seemed to have been burned by something, turning dark. This is because the mouthparts of red flame ants carry venom. If it is not treated in time, it will only make the injury more and more serious. It's a pity that among wolves, old wolves that lose their hunting ability will be driven away by the pack. Therefore, this old wolf does not have any support. The final result can only be a dead end. Not long after, the old wolf in front of him became the prey of the red flame ant. Just when Yi Hao was about to take action and kill these red flame ants, a bold idea suddenly appeared in his mind. Seeing several red ants preparing to drag the gray wolf's body away, Yi Hao quickly followed. The red flame ants in front had no idea how much disaster their actions would bring to their own tribe. It is indeed a colony of red flame ants. After following the red flame ant for a long time, the red flame ant in front finally stopped and then dragged the gray wolf's body towards the cave ahead. Yi Hao stopped and looked at the behemoth in front of him, his face full of excitement. The land in front of me is raised high, like a hill. It's like a hill magnified countless times. This is the nest of red flame ants. Yi Hao casually sensed it and discovered the life aura of no less than 100 red flame ants. Not to mention, further distances. It can be seen how terrifying the number of red flame ants here is. I believe that as long as he kills all the red ants here, he will definitely be ranked first. Fire Sun Sword Formation. Thinking of this, Yi Hao no longer hesitated and directly summoned the remaining 31 flying swords. With a wave of his right hand, 32 small swords rose into the sky and gathered into a giant magic circle in the air. As the sword formation took shape, a golden sun appeared above Yi Hao's head, exuding a terrifying temperature. The power of the formation is far superior to martial arts, let alone a second-grade sword formation at the Great Perfection realm. Go! Looking at the cave ahead, Yi Hao activated the sun above his head. Countless fireballs shot out towards those caves. Not long after, red ants with flaming bodies rushed out of it. Unfortunately, before he could get close to Yi Hao, he was burned to ashes by the fire. Second-order red flame ant. In the cave, blood-red red ants flew out again, with a pair of transparent wings behind them. Their body size is much smaller than the red flame ants on the ground, but the aura on their bodies is much stronger. They are second-level red flame ants, possessing the ability to fly. And unlike the first-level red flame ants that only have their mouths as weapons, the red flame ants that have advanced to the second level have the means to attack from a distance. They opened their teeth again, and blazing fireballs condensed in their mouths. Fireballs spit out from their mouths and flew towards Yi Hao at high speed. Roll! Looking at the fireball in front of him, Yi Hao directly activated the magic circle and exerted part of its power. The sun above the head shook violently, and the scorching flames swept towards the red ants like sea water, melting those fireballs in an instant. Then the castration continued unabated, and in the blink of an eye those second-order red flame ants were burned into ashes. A lot of points. Looking at his crazy increase in points, Yi Hao had a smile on his face. After killing more than a dozen second-order red flame ants, he successfully entered the 98th place. His figure appeared above the light curtain for the first time. Yi Hao, the light curtain is finally on. Outside, Lu Chun looked at Yi Hao who appeared on the light screen and finally breathed a sigh of relief. Zhao Li's father also lit up. The Great Perfection's fierce sun sword formation. Soon, someone spotted the bright sun above Yi Hao's head, their eyes filled with joy. The fighting power of sword cultivators is already overwhelming at the same level. The power of the sword formation is even more terrifying. Even the third-level monsters would not dare to easily provoke the Zochin-level fierce sun sword formation. This classmate is a student of that high school. A teacher from the martial arts university came up with the idea of recruiting him in advance. He saw that Yi Hao's energy and blood were very terrifying, at least he was at the master level. Plus the Zochin sword formation. If we don't recruit him in advance now, when more people see him, he won't have anything to do with him. He is a student of Anhai No. 1 middle school. Soon, a teacher found Yi Hao's information. When the surrounding teachers heard that Yi Hao was from Anhai No. 1 middle school, they also cast curious glances. I heard that this time, in a junior secret realm of Anhai No. 1 middle school, a high-grade soul stone vein appeared, and the legendary 2 unicorns of water and fire appeared. They have been in the limelight recently. Anhai No. One middle school has many transfer students because of this. They come from aristocratic families in other big cities. They just don't know which family this Yi Hao comes from. You are so young, and you have such combat power, either in Shengjing City or in major cities like Zhongchang. It seems that it is understandable that he has such combat power. The teachers in the admissions office started talking a lot and even began to speculate about Yi Hao's origins. Lu Chun, who had a clear view of all this, looked at it all with a smile and had no intention of standing up and explaining. However, according to the information, Yi Hao is a native of Anhai City, and his family conditions are very ordinary. No matter how you look at it, he is an ordinary person. The teacher who found Yi Hao's information before pointed at the information in his hand and said with a frown. What? How is it possible? How can a guy with muddy legs be such a genius? Could it be that he is another peerless monster? After receiving the news that Yi Hao was not from a wealthy family, these teachers expressed disbelief. But after they saw Yi Hao's information, they had to believe that Yi Hao was just a jerk with no background at all. Then, their breathing became rapid. Yi Hao, who didn't have any resources, was able to perform so outrageously. Then if you provide enough resources to the other party, can you harvest a peerless monster? Perhaps, it is another existence that breaks boundaries. Here, Yi Hao has entered the cave with the sun above his head. On the road he walked, there were corpses of red flame ants everywhere. There was only faint light in the dark and damp cave. But as Yi Hao entered, the heat from the sun above his head made the cave instantly dry. A red flame ant lurking in the top of the cave jumped down from the top of the head and headed straight for Yi Hao's head. It's a pity that he was blown away by the fierce flames before he even got close. It hit the stone wall hard, and I didn't know whether to live or die. Come again. Yi Hao originally wanted to move forward, but then he felt a bad wind coming towards him. He complained in dissatisfaction, and then slapped him. Looking at the red flame ant that had received his blow without any damage, Yi Hao cast his eyes curiously. The big sun above our head gave off a blazing light, instantly illuminating the front. Only then did he realize that what had just attacked him was actually a humanoid red ant. The other person stood up, with 3 pairs of transparent wings on his back. There was anger in his eyes, and he wanted to tear the human in front of him into pieces. 3rd level red flame ant king. Yi Hao looked at the humanoid red flame ant in front of him, and the other party's information instantly appeared in his mind. In the ant colony, the ant king is mainly responsible for mating with the queen, and is also the most powerful existence besides the queen. Human, you are seeking death. The red flame ant king, who had already refined his crossbones, looked at the descendants killed by Yi Hao, his eyes filled with strong murderous intent, and he wished he could tear the human beings in front of him into pieces. After roaring angrily, he vibrated the 3 pairs of transparent wings behind him, made bursts of sonic booms, and shot towards Yi Hao. Its 3 pairs of transparent wings appear to be as thin as cicada wings, but are extremely sharp and can easily cut the flesh and blood of 3rd-level monsters. He immediately approached Yi Hao and cut off his head. Teizu Chengquan. Yi Hao also felt a hint of danger and directly used Teizu Long Fist. Immediately, a vision appeared, and a substantial incarnation of the artistic conception appeared behind him. He punched the red ants in the air. The terrifying power directly knocked the ant king away. Die! Yi Hao stepped on the flying swallow step and instantly caught up with the ant king who was sent flying. The incarnation of the artistic conception behind him punched him again. This time he superimposed a double attack talent, increasing its power several times. Double attack. Intermediate talent. The next attack will cause 350% damage, cooling time, 10 minutes. Level 4. Upgrade requirements. Kill 82nd level monsters. Just now, his double attack talent was upgraded to level 4, which can cause his next attack to cause 350% damage. The only pity is that now you have to kill 82nd level monsters before you can upgrade to level 4. Puff. The Ant King's head was instantly hammered open by the incarnation of artistic conception. Bathed in blood, then disappeared in place. Substantial artistic conception, such a terrifying talent. Yi Hao didn't know that everything he did was seen by teachers from the outside world. When they saw the substantive artistic conception, there was only one goal left in their minds, which was to make every effort to bring the other party into their school. With a substantial artistic conception, that is to say, there will be no bottlenecks for the other party to become a Grand Master. As long as they have enough resources, the other party can become a Grand Master in a short time. And he is also a great master of swordsmanship. Then, before the age of 40, the other party is very likely to obtain the title and become the new king of the Dragon Kingdom. This is the realm that their mentors dream of. Now, they cannot become kings, but they can cultivate a king. What's the difference between them becoming kings themselves? What's going on? Yi Hao was puzzled to find that since he just killed the Third Order Ant King, he had never met a red flame ant again. These red flame ants seemed to have disappeared. As if he thought of something, his face became more and more ugly. Immediately afterwards, he accelerated his speed and walked towards the depths of the cave on flying swallow steps. Due to his anger, the temperature emitted by the sun above his head became more and more terrifying, and the flames swept across, turning everything he passed into an oven. Why so many ant kings? In the darkness, 3 humanoid ants came to attack Yi Hao, and they were bound to keep Yi Hao here. Without saying a word, they were already determined to die. Heart of Gold. This is the first time Yi Hao has opened the golden heart. Boom, boom, dong dong dong. The golden heart began to beat, and the beating frequency instantly increased several times. Then, it suddenly paused, like a thunder hitting the drum, deafening. The 3 ant kings immediately felt something was wrong. Their heart rates actually started to keep up with each other's beating frequency. Then, there was a violent meal. Their hearts simply couldn't bear such a torment and became defeated. However, the weird beating started again. Their hearts also started beating violently again. They endured their physical discomfort and wanted to kill the humans in front of them. Unfortunately, as soon as he took a few steps forward, he fell to his knees in pain. One of the ant kings couldn't bear it anymore, his heart was broken, and he soon lost his breath. Seeing this scene, the other 2 ant kings also fell into despair. It doesn't seem to work. Yi Hao looked at the golden heart in his body and frowned slightly. As a high-level magical power, the performance brought by the other party did not seem to be worthy of its status. Boom. As if aware of Yi Hao's dissatisfaction, Huang Jin's heart stopped and then beat slightly. Invisible fluctuations spread out. In just an instant, the 2 ant kings in front of them lost their breath. If you can observe the inside of the other party's body, you can find that the other party's internal organs were shattered at that moment. That's okay. Yi Hao's eyes lit up and he couldn't help but praise. The last beat just now was like an ordinary heartbeat. But its power is very terrifying, far exceeding any previous beating. They probably all ran away. Yi Hao put the corpses of the 3 ant kings into the space ring, stepped on the flying swallow steps, and flew into the cave. These 3 ant kings clearly retreated to die in order to protect the queen ant. With the determination to die. Sure enough, it was just as he imagined. When he reached the deepest part of the cave, he didn't even see a single first-order red flame ant, let alone the queen ant. Running so fast, looking at the teleportation array not far away, Yi Hao hesitated. Obviously, the disappearance of the red flame ants is related to this teleportation array. Now he was considering whether he should pursue him or not. It's better to go in and take a look first. Yi Hao looked at the token in the space ring. As long as the token was there, he could not die. Unless someone can kill him before he activates the token. Thinking of this, he stepped directly into the teleportation array. When he opened his eyes again, he found himself in a mountain range. Surrounded by towering trees. Why is there no sound at all? Yi Hao took a few steps and discovered something was wrong. It is really too quiet here, with so many trees around, not to mention the chirping of insects and even the sound of the wind. It's really too weird. Whoosh. Just as Yi Hao continued to move forward, a red spear shot towards the back of his head. Wanting to nail him to the spot. Quote. Yi Hao frowned and took a few steps back to avoid the red spear. Who are you? Looking at the woman who appeared not far away, Yi Hao frowned. The opponent was dressed in fiery red battle armor, with 2 peaks standing proudly. At this time, he was staring at himself with an angry face, which made him a little puzzled. Logically speaking, this is the first time he has seen each other. Zhu Hong slowly walked to the red fire-colored spear, pulled it up, and looked directly at Yi Hao. He said coldly, Kill my descendants, and you won't be able to leave today. You are the Red Flame Ant Queen. Yi Hao's face instantly turned ugly as he recognized the other party's identity. Red Flame Ant Queen. Being able to transform into a human form means that the Red Flame Ant Queen in front of her has reached the 4th level. That is a powerful person at the Grand Master level. I'm still a little confused. Why are you teleporting here since you're already at level 4? Yi Hao frowned and observed the surrounding environment. Even with the 4th level Ant Queen, he was not sure of victory. Didn't you notice something strange here? Seemingly feeling that Yi Hao had no chance to escape, Zhu Hong said with a half smile. Soon, Yi Hao discovered something was wrong. His teleportation token cannot be activated. In other words, the way of heaven has been blocked here. As for the outside world, the instructors also frowned at the sudden darkening of the light curtain, not knowing what happened. What's going on? Zhao Li's father looked at the other 3 family heads with doubts. I've never encountered this kind of thing before. The head of the Qian family also frowned. His forehead was covered with dense ravines, as if they could trap flies. I hope it's okay. Lu Chun also had a hint of worry on his face. If I don't do this, will you follow me? Zhu Hong stared at the human in front of her, and then her tone suddenly changed. Now, it's your turn to die. After saying that, she clenched the spear in her hand and stabbed Yi Hao. Flying sword. Facing the 4th level monster, Yi Hao did not dare to be careless and directly dispersed the sword array. 32 small swords floated around him. Unity. 32 small swords instantly merged into one and were held in his hand. Fighting with Zhu Hong in front of him. The battle began, and the Golden Heart was jumping for joy, constantly strengthening Yi Hao's energy and blood. 12 levels of conquerors were instantly stacked up, greatly increasing his combat power. Then he barely managed to fight to a draw with the Red Flame Ant Queen in front of him. It's really extraordinary. Zhu Hong was overjoyed and swung the crimson spear in his hand more and more rapidly. It streaked through the air, bringing up blood-red flames from time to time. It can feel that the human being in front of it has not truly entered the Master Realm. But the real combat power has surpassed that of the Grand Master. Being able to fight for so long without falling behind at the 4th level shows how powerful the opponent's appearance is. When it devours the opponent, it can at least raise its own bloodline to a higher level. Happy, Yi Hao held the flying sword in his hand, his eyes filled with strong fighting intent. He hadn't felt such a painful battle for a long time, which made him extremely excited. During the battle, the Golden Heart was also strengthening his energy and blood, and the speed was dozens of times higher than usual. In just a few minutes, his energy and blood increased by 10 points. It was something he had never dared to imagine before. What a terrifying talent. Soon, Zhu Hong discovered that the human being in front of him could actually become stronger in battle, and there was a hint of solemnity on his face. Because it discovered that if the human beings in front of it were allowed to continue fighting like this, sooner or later they would grow to the point where they would be unstoppable. Thinking of this, it no longer showed mercy, and red flames burst out from its body, wrapping its whole body in it. Like a fireman. Boom. This is its natal magical power, the red flame form. In this form, all its attributes will be doubled at the same time. You must know that as the level increases, the bonuses of low-level martial arts will become less and less. At the 4th level, it can also double its attributes, which is already a powerful magical power. So strong. Yi Hao's whole body was hit hard by Zhu Hong's sudden blow, and he was thrown away by the water. Then it hit not far away, and countless giant trees were affected and broken at the waist. 100 miles in radius was gradually reduced to ruins in the battle. Yi Hao stood up from the ground, spit out a mouthful of blood, and then looked at Huo Ren not far away with burning eyes. What a strong defense. Zhu Hong's face turned completely ugly. The blow just now, but its full blow, only made the opponent vomit a mouthful of blood. This is really hard to accept. It also discovered that Yi Hao's physical body was really terrifying, probably not weaker than an ordinary 4th level monster. In fact, all of this is due to the strength of the Golden Heart. The heart does not stop and the strengthening continues. Let Yi Hao become stronger in all aspects every moment. During combat, this bonus is even more terrifying. It's almost 12 o'clock. Yi Hao fought and retreated, no longer facing off against Zhu Hong. Don't even think about running away. This is a restricted area, a place where even the law of heaven cannot touch. You should just become my food. Looking at the human boy running away crazily in front of him, Zhu Hong always felt uneasy in his heart and kept attacking him with words. I hope I can find something useful. Seeing that Yi Hao had finally regained his normal sign in talent, he could only pin everything on this. Otherwise, he would have to explain himself here today. Sign in successfully, congratulations on getting 1000 blood. Additional reward at the end of the month, 3000 blood. Ah, looking at the sign-in information, Yi Hao remembered that today is the last day of June. Weekend sign-in, sign-in. The sudden burst of 4000 points of energy and blood instantly turned Yi Hao's body into a furnace. The terrifying energy and blood were constantly washing through his body. The overflowing blood flowed out of his pores, turning him into a bloody man. His aura was also constantly improving at this moment. The golden heart sensed the changes in the master's body and accelerated its strengthening. The energy and blood in Yi Hao's body still became stable. Zhu Hong didn't know what changes had taken place in Yi Hao's body, but she could sense that once the other party completed his transformation, it would be his own death. It spat out a mouthful of blood essence, making the red flame spear in its hand become even more violent. Then, it was thrown hard at Yi Hao. Looking at Yi Hao, who had no reaction, Zhu Hong's face showed a hint of excitement. How is this possible? But the next second, the excitement on its face stopped abruptly. Broken. Yi Hao, who was like a bloody man, suddenly stretched out his right fist when the spear approached. Golden's heart trembled and thundered, causing his combat effectiveness to instantly return to its peak. The spear was blown away in an instant, the spirituality in it was wiped out, and it completely fell into a mortal weapon. The 32 flying swords divided again and became 64. Finally become a master. At this moment, Yi Hao finally stabilized his cultivation. He truly became a master-level warrior. And as soon as you join the Grand Master, you have already become the 5th level of Grand Master. The true meaning of martial arts was completely integrated with him, and a casual strike carried the martial intention of Teizu's Chengquan. Now, it's my turn. Yi Hao raised his head and looked at Zhu Hong not far away, with a strange smile on his blood-covered face. The queen ant had been chasing him for so long, and now it was his turn. Not good. Zhu Hong felt the other party's gaze, but it seemed as if she was being stared at by some ancient beast. As a 4th-level creature, it couldn't help but tremble. Just when it wanted to escape, it found that its body could not move at all, as if it was fixed by something. What did you do to me? Zhu Hong could only open her mouth and roared at the humans not far away. When you die, you can ask the King of Hell yourself. Yi Hao looked at Zhu Hong coldly, and took one step forward to stand in front of her. Then he punched the opponent in the chest. After becoming a Grand Master, not only did the number of flying swords increase to 64, but the number of stacks of conquerors also increased to 13, a full 390% increase effect. Coupled with a full 5,000 points of energy and blood, he is no longer the Yi Hao he was before. Now he is a true master-level powerhouse. The artistic conception of martial arts is integrated into one, which is different from the past. But in order not to send the other party away immediately, Yi Hao only used 10% of his strength. But even with only 10% of his strength, the Zhu Hong in front of him was still blown away 100 meters away by his punch and hit countless tree trunks. Don't kill me. Zhu Hong climbed up from the ground, only to feel that her internal organs had been completely broken. If it weren't for the monster's powerful vitality and 4th-level cultivation, it would have been gone just now. Looking at Yi Hao, who appeared in front of it again, it said quickly. Give me a reason. Yi Hao looked at Zhu Hong coldly. 10% of the heavenly authority of the Red Flame Secret Realm is buried here. As long as you let me go, I will tell you where it is. Zhu Hong suppressed the warning from her body and said to the human in front of her. What do I want with that thing? Yi Hao frowned. A hint of coldness flashed in Zhu Hong's eyes, but she still spoke. Did you know that the heavenly Tao in the Scarlet Flame Secret Realm has long had the ability to advance to a high-level secret realm, but it just lacks 10% of the heavenly Tao authority and has not been able to complete the advancement. If you take away this 10% of the power of heaven, you will know the benefits you will get if you think about it. Quote. After speaking, it looked at the human in front of it. How do I know if what you said is true? To be honest, Yi Hao was a little moved. He admitted that he had been a little abrupt just now. But he was also afraid that it was a trap. After all, this is not the first time the other party has done this. Do you think I am still your opponent now? Moreover, the authority of that day is underground. You can feel it if you want to. I just hope you can let me go. Zhu Hong frowned and directly stated the authority of heaven. I never said let you go. Yi Hao glanced at Zhu Hong, tapped his right hand, and the flying sword in the sky flashed past, under the stunned expression of the other party. Cut off the opponent's head. Zhu Hong didn't expect that the other party would attack directly, and it didn't even react. Forgot about this. Yi Hao, who was about to leave, suddenly thought of something and slashed towards Zhu Hong's head with his sword. I want you to die. Zhu Hong did not expect that as a soul body, she would be discovered by the other party. It really doubts who is the real fourth level. Boom. The soul energy began to become chaotic, and then exploded suddenly. Like a stormy wave, it swept out in all directions. The destructive power visible to the naked eye destroyed everything. He actually chose to self-destruct. Looking at the red flame ant queen who chose to self-destruct, Yi Hao waved his hand gently, and 64 flying swords flew out and settled in the void, forming an invincible field with a radius of 100 meters to protect him. The seemingly destructive self-destruction did not cause any waves in the invincible field. This is one of the new abilities he gained after his flying sword advanced to level 3. Is it really underground? Yi Hao looked down and fell into deep thought. After the queen ant dies, the token in her space ring regains its use effect. The figure also appeared in the light curtain again. Lu Chun, the head of the Zhao family and others, who had been paying attention to him, breathed a heavy sigh of relief. As this or that, they looked at the land under Yi Hao's feet and fell into deep thought. The other party seemed to have just experienced a fierce battle. The surrounding environment seemed to be shattering, as if it had been washed away by tens of millions of cannonballs. Not sure. The head of the Qian family also fell into deep thought. Who are you? Yi Hao looked at the white figure that suddenly appeared, with a trace of doubt on his face. Because he didn't feel any breath from the other party's body, as if it didn't exist. But the other party happened to be standing in front of him. Red Flame, the white figure said indifferently. Red Flame Heavenly Way. Yi Hao was slightly stunned. When the Heavenly Tao of the Red Flame Secret Realm was walking in its form, its name was Red Flame, and the Red Flame Secret Realm got its name from this reason. No wonder, he didn't notice the other party's aura just now. It turned out to be the true form of Heavenly Tao. Thank you for allowing me to find the lost authority of heaven. As a heavenly being, Kai Yan has no emotions. But if it weren't for the other party, I don't know when I would be able to find the remaining authority of heaven. So his heart was filled with gratitude. Yi Hao was slightly stunned. Is the power of heaven really here? He did not expect that what the Scarlet Flame Ant Queen said was actually true. In order to break through from the elementary to the intermediate level, I divided my heavenly authority into the secret realm and wanted to further increase my advancement speed. However, after I broke through the intermediate level and prepared to take back the heavenly authority, 10% of the heavenly authority was missing. I couldn't find a trace, but I didn't expect that someone was hiding here intentionally. Kai Yan saw through the ground, tapped his right hand, and an invisible force wiped away the golden light group underground. That is the authority of heaven. Is it that magic circle that covers the opponent's perception of heaven? Yi Hao had guessed before that the Queen Ant was the formation eye, but he did not expect that the other party would self-destruct, and he had no time to stop it. Under the self-destruction, the magic circle also turned into nothingness. After losing the cover of the magic circle, Kai Yan was able to perceive the existence of the remaining heavenly authority. I don't know which race is plotting against me. After taking back the power of heaven, Kai Yan's body has become much more solid. When he completely integrates the remaining power, he can upgrade himself to a higher level. The Red Flame Secret Realm will become a high-level secret realm. At that time, a sixth-order existence can be born. As for hiding the power of heaven, it should be the method of those races from all realms. After all, he has cooperated with Blue Star humans for a long time, and Blue Star humans will not prevent him from becoming stronger. Only all races, in order to curb the development of mankind, would choose to hide his heavenly authority. Congratulations, I think it won't be long before you can come out of the secret realm. Yi Hao looked at Kai Yan in front of him and congratulated. After the secret realm is advanced to a high level, the way of heaven can separate into clones and walk out of the secret realm. The strength is equivalent to the peak of the 6th level, that is, the martial emperor level of human beings. Once Kai Yan successfully advances, it means that mankind will have a powerful martial emperor level expert. On the battlefield of all races, the balance of battle will once again tilt towards humans. This is my thank you gift to you. Looking at the benefactor in front of him, Kai Yan thought for a while and found something that could be used as a thank you gift. I saw his right finger pointed at a point in the void, and countless golden light spots gathered together, finally forming a red-gold sword. This is the red-gold blood-splitting sword, level 6. In order to facilitate your use, I have set restrictions on it. When your level increases, the restrictions will be lifted. I have made it recognize you as Lord. Quote. After saying that, the red-gold blood-splitting sword flew towards Yi Hao, and finally floated behind him. Spiritual swords have spirits, and the 6th level red-gold blood-splitting sword naturally has its own sword spirit. You can choose a name for the sword spirit. Kai Yan gently clicked, and a little girl about 6 years old appeared next to the red-gold blood-splitting sword. She is petite and has tender skin, resembling a porcelain doll. This is the sword spirit of the red-gold splitting blood sword. My name is Yiling. Yi Hao looked at the little girl in front of him, forced out a drop of blood from his fingertips, and flew towards her. Hey, I will have a name in the future too. Yiling opened her mouth and swallowed the blood. This is the first time since its birth that the red-gold blood-splitting sword has emerged. After signing a contract with Yi Hao, a sense of intimacy arose spontaneously. When you complete the martial arts test and come to the secret realm again, I will give you a big gift. Kai Yan looked at Yi Hao's satisfied look, nodded gently, and then spoke again. Besides, Yi Hao was slightly stunned. He thought that the red-gold blood-splitting sword given to him by the other party was already a thank-you gift, but he didn't expect that there would be more. Well, also, remember to come to me when the time comes. After entering the secret realm, just call my name. After saying that, the red flame turned into a wisp of green smoke and dissipated with the wind. Let's go. Looking at Yiling, Yi Hao said affectionately. Yes. Yiling nodded lightly, then returned to the sword. As a sword spirit, she still felt comfortable inside the sword. The most important thing is that she grows faster in the sword body. It's not even close, but it's the first place. Yi Hao looked at the standings. He ranked second with 987 points. First place, 1023 points. In fact, if it weren't for the magic circle and the points he scored for killing the 4th Order Ant Queen were not included, he would probably have been ranked first. Without the constraints of the magic circle, Yi Hao walked directly with the sword. Yi Hao, this guy, actually scored 987 points by himself. The one-armed Dangon looked at the rankings on the standings, his face becoming more and more gloomy. Their group of 7, plus the 4th level puppets, only ranked 5th. Actually, they can't even compare to each other. Yi Hao. Ma Yuanliang's excited voice sounded. I know Yi Hao ranks 2nd. Dangon responded dissatisfied. Look, it's Yi Hao, that guy is in the sky. Ma Yuanliang pointed excitedly at the figure in the sky, his face full of excitement. What? Dangon looked up to the sky for a moment. When he saw Yi Hao in the sky, his breath suddenly stopped. Then, full of anger surged into his heart. In order to avenge himself, he took out this 4th level puppet from his private collection without telling his father. Now, it's finally time to play his part. Thinking of this, he directly released the silver-white 4th level puppet. The silver-white puppet was activated the moment it appeared, and shot directly towards Yi Hao in the sky. What the hell? Looking at the silver-white puppet that was full of murderous intent towards him, Yi Hao frowned and slashed out with the red-gold blood-splitting sword, cutting the silver-white puppet in front of him in half like cutting tofu. The puppet of the contract was destroyed, and Dang Qian, as the master, was also affected to a certain extent. He spat out a mouthful of blood, and then looked at Yi Hao who was flying towards him with a pale face. He did not expect that his fourth-level puppet was cut in half by the opponent without even making a single move. He regretted why he provoked this devil. That puppet is yours. Yi Hao looked at the 7 people on the ground, with a strange look in his eyes, because these people were all acquaintances. Back in the secret realm of the back mountain, it was this group of guys who surrounded me. When he glanced at the 7 people, he quickly stopped at Dang Gon. Because he felt an aura from the other party's body, which was exactly the same as that of the silver puppet. Don't kill me. At this time, Dang Gon was so frightened that he even forgot that he could voluntarily withdraw from the secret realm assessment. At this time, he just hoped that the guy in front of him could let him go. Yi Hao, we can give you all the points, please let us go. Ma Yuanliang looked at Dang Gon, who was already frightened, and took the initiative to stand up. He didn't want to quit voluntarily if he had no choice but to do so. Once it was known that he couldn't even pass the first level of the martial arts test in a small city, he would probably be laughed to death by those guys. Okay, Yi Hao thought for a moment and then agreed. Then, they went up and handed the points to Yi Hao, and they also breathed a sigh of relief. Next time, I won't be so good-tempered. Yi Hao looked at the 7 people in front of him and smiled softly. After collecting the opponent's points, he successfully became the first place, with 1455 points, a cliff-shattering first. Why do these guys keep going against Yi Hao? From the outside world, Lu Chun frowned deeply as he saw Yi Hao being targeted by others again. But when he saw Yi Hao kill the 4th-level puppet with one sword, he was shocked and speechless. That sword is also very extraordinary. Someone saw the extraordinary power of the red gold blood-splitting sword floating next to Yi Hao. That's the red gold blood-splitting sword, the companion magic weapon of the red flame heavenly Tao. What happened before? The head of the Li family, one of the top 4 local aristocratic families, was dumbfounded when he looked at the red gold blood-splitting sword. Yi Hao just appeared and then disappeared for more than 10 minutes. When he appeared again, the red gold blood-splitting sword appeared beside the opponent. The only one with this ability is Kai Yan Tiandao. Thinking of this, he instantly understood something. It's a pity that he is taking the martial arts exam now, otherwise, he would have to ask Kai Yan Tiandao. With such combat power, he can already be on the list of geniuses. The admissions office teacher from Susong Martial Arts University couldn't help but said as he watched Yi Hao kill the 4th-level puppet with one sword. Don't you have the right to recommend? Just report it. The companion next to him couldn't help but start talking. The talent list can be recommended by others. If it is proven that the combat power is real and qualified to be on the list, the recommender will also receive certain rewards. I'll try. Hearing his companion say this, his eyes suddenly lit up. In the first level of the assessment, when the time is up, candidates other than 1000 will be teleported out of the secret realm in 3 seconds. With the help of the 3-eared tripod, the head of the Zhao family temporarily gained part of the power of heaven, and his voice also appeared in the ears of every candidate. Immediately afterwards, each candidate was kicked out by Tiandao. Some had excitement on their faces because they had gained enough points to be admitted to a martial arts university. Some looked frustrated because they did not dare to face the monsters at all and hid somewhere until the assessment was over. Life is full of different situations, and everyone has their own thoughts. The second level of assessment begins. The remaining 1000 candidates will be teleported to an island. Every 10 minutes, part of the island will sink until the last 100 candidates are selected. Not long after, the voice of the head of the Zhao family sounded again. Survival on an island. After hearing the assessment requirements, Yi Hao fell into deep thought. However, before he had time to think, he was enveloped in blue light and flew towards the sky. At the same time, blue lights flew out from everywhere in the secret realm, coming towards the isolated island. Everyone, wait a moment, I have something to say. 1000 candidates were teleported to one place, which was in line with Zhou Lin's idea. Looking at the people who were about to leave, he spoke directly. I told you to stop. Seeing that people dared to ignore him, Zhou Lin clenched the long sword in his hand and slashed directly at several people. The terrifying sword energy streaked across the sky, sending it flying directly. This is what he kept, otherwise these guys would have died. What does Zhou Lin want to do? Zhao Li frowned and looked at Zhou Lin in the sky, wondering what the other party wanted to do. He wants to decide the top 100 here. After all, if we separate, it won't be so easy to find someone. Yi Hao came over and said with a smile. Once these people are allowed to leave, it will not be that easy to find them. Yi Hao, you are here. Seeing Yi Hao appear, Zhao Li's face suddenly showed a hint of joy, and she hurriedly greeted him. Yes. Yi Hao nodded gently. Is it possible that he can still kill him? Zhao Li looked at the students around her. Although everyone was a little afraid of Zhou Lin, as time went by, everyone would slowly come to their senses. When there are so many people, the other party will not be able to stop them. Yi Hao naturally understood what Zhao Li said and shook his head gently. He should have helpers. Just after Yi Hao finished speaking, a dozen martial arts masters flew up from the crowd and wrapped them tightly. What do you want? Someone roared. I am dissatisfied with the other party's behavior, which is really too domineering. Now, I give you two choices. 1. Actively choose to withdraw from the assessment. 2. Beat me to death, and then quit the assessment. Quote. Zhou Lin looked at the angry people, but his face was filled with a trace of pride. He enjoyed the feeling of controlling other people's lives and deaths. Yi Hao, do we want to stop it? Zhang Sa also discovered Yi Hao and the others and came closer. He pointed at the boat scales in the sky and frowned. The other party's behavior made him extremely unhappy. Yi Hao shook his head gently. Let's wait until they eliminate some people. There are indeed a lot of people now. He also agreed with the other party's choice and had this idea. Seeing what Yi Hao said, Zhang Sa didn't ask any more questions and fell into silence. Everyone rushes together. I don't believe they can stop all of us. In the crowd, someone said confusingly. Yes, let's rush together. Under the agitation, the crowd began to rush towards the surrounding areas. They took out their weapons one after another and started killing in all directions. Only a small part of these people come from Anhai City itself. The others are all transfer students from other supermarkets, coming for the high-grade mineral veins in the secret realm of the Back Mountain. Therefore, most of them are martial artist-level beings. Naturally, he is not willing to fall behind others. Stop them. Zhou Lin saw that these students were no longer under control and nodded to his companions. Then they all took weapons and faced these students. His companions are basically from some top aristocratic families. The combat effectiveness is far above that of other ordinary disciples. Therefore, it is very easy to stop them. I have a sword that can divide thousands of people. Like drizzle, continuous. Quote. Seeing this, Zhou Lin no longer held back. He clenched the sword in his hand and pointed it at the sky. Through the blood and energy in the body, the water elements in the air are condensed together. Eventually, a huge dark cloud formed in the sky. It's as dark as ink, and the sky is full of darkness. It will cover everything within 100 miles. Cut. Following his order, the silver-white thunder snake emerged and rolled in the dark clouds. With a roar, it started to rain heavily. But if you look carefully, you can find that the rainwater turns into small swords in the air. The blade of the sword is as thin as a cow's hair, but it is also continuous. This is a second-level martial skill, sword rain. He cultivated it to the extreme and understood the artistic conception of sword rain. Ah, you are so cruel. The sword rain is continuous, and although it is small in size, the damage it causes is continuous. Many weak warriors were able to withstand 1 or 2 attacks at the beginning. But as time went by, under the continuous rain of swords, all their defense methods failed. Unable to bear it anymore, his body was penetrated by the sword rain, and tiny pillars of blood burst out. Some people really couldn't bear the pain, angrily complained that Zhou Lin was wrong, and chose to withdraw from this assessment. Some warriors would rather be seriously injured or dying of illness than to withdraw from this assessment. It was Tiandao who discovered the other party's condition and eliminated him directly. Otherwise, I'm afraid I will die under this rain of swords. Regarding everything that happened in the secret realm, the teachers in the outside world took it into consideration and did not feel anything was wrong. After all, they had already prepared backup plans. Everyone is well prepared. Once they receive a fatal threat, heaven will teleport them out. In this way, there will be no casualties at all. Not only did they not feel that Zhou Lin's actions were wrong, but they were full of appreciation. After all, the real battlefield of all races is much crueler than here. Instead of letting them die on the battlefield of all races later, let them experience in advance what a real battlefield is. Looking at the dwindling crowd below, Jolin could not help but show a satisfied look. But suddenly he seemed to have seen something, and his face became gloomy. I'll deal with you last. It seems that most of the students below have not been eliminated. Jolin turned his head and no longer paid attention to Yi Hao. After he has finished dealing with these students, he will go back to deal with each other. At this time, Yi Hao was summoning dozens of flying swords to form a protective shield. Wrapped him, Zhang Sa, and Zhao Li in it. The sword rain, which was very powerful for others, could not even consume any energy from the protective shield, let alone cause damage to the three of them. Yi Hao raised his head and looked at Jolin's gaze. Immediately, a strange smile appeared on his face. He also guessed what the other party was thinking. It seems that this battle is inevitable. Yi Hao murmured. Zhao Li heard Yi Hao's whisper, so she asked curiously, Yi Hao, what's the battle? As Yi Hao's good brother for many years, Zhang Sa instantly understood what Yi Hao meant. He pointed to the boat scale in the sky. It should be the guy in the sky. Well, after he takes care of the other students, I'm afraid he will come looking for me. Yi Hao nodded and admitted. Yi Hao, are you his opponent? Zhao Li's eyes were full of worry. The other party was a young master and a figure on the list of geniuses. She was afraid that Yi Ling was no match for him. Grandmaster. What a coincidence, I am also a grandmaster. Yi Hao looked at Zhao Li, his eyes full of confidence. As a master-level warrior, he thought he was no weaker than anyone. Grandmaster, let me go, when did you become a grandmaster? Zhang Sa had a look of disbelief on his face. Looking at his good brother, he felt betrayed. You must know that he is just a warrior. Even if his strength has been improved recently, he has only reached the 9th level of the warrior. There is still a long way to go before becoming a martial artist. Now Yi Hao actually said that he was already a master. It's a great level of improvement for myself. After all, who is the real low-level talent? Is it possible that this advanced talent of mine is not as good as the owner of a junior talent? Suddenly he thought of something, frowned, and looked at Yi Hao in front of him with suspicion. Tell me, are you a junior talent? I really don't believe that a junior talent owner can have such a terrifying cultivation talent. Or are you not Yi Hao, or have you been kidnapped? Thinking of this, he took a few steps back, showing a look of horror. Looking at Zhang Sa, who was like a living treasure, Yi Hao couldn't laugh or cry. Later, I decided to tell part of the truth. After thinking about it for a while, he said, my talent is indeed a low-level talent. However, it can be continuously upgraded and reach higher levels. Therefore, I have gained a lot of benefits, and because of this, my realm has improved so quickly. Quote, let me tell you, how can an ordinary low-level talent have such an exaggerated training speed? After hearing Yi Hao's explanation, Zhang Hao nodded naturally. This is what he thought. In this world, there are still talents that can advance independently. He was very happy that his good brother had such a talent. Yi Hao is actually a grandmaster, he is practicing so fast. Zhao Li on the side fell into a daze after hearing that Yi Hao had successfully advanced to become a master. After discovering Zhao Li's strangeness, Zhao Xuaning in her mind quickly said, when you get to college, I will take you to those secret realms and find the few treasures of heaven and earth that I left behind. I believe you will catch up with him soon. Quote, I hope so. After receiving the comfort from the 33rd ancestor, Zhao Li's mood became much calmer. By the way, have you seen Ling Chonger? Yi Hao suddenly remembered the guy from before, but he couldn't find him today. Logically speaking, given the opponent's strength, he should pass this first test easily and not be eliminated, right? That guy was admitted in advance and has already gone to the university to register, so he did not take the martial arts exam. Zhang Sa did know about this. There was still a lot of commotion in the Tianzhao class group. It is said that it is because the university where I am recruiting has a very extraordinary background. So that guy directly chose the special move. I was actually specially recruited. Yi Hao has always been curious about what the other party's talent is. It's a pity that I never found the time to ask more carefully. Unexpectedly, the other party had been specially recruited and entered the university early, and I couldn't help but feel that it was a pity. Now, I can only wait and see if I have the luck to meet the other person in the future and then ask more carefully. He can feel the other person's talent, which is of great help to him. This is a feeling that comes from somewhere. I'll go, so cruel. Jong Sa's voice suddenly sounded, pulling Yi Hao out of his thoughts. The exaggerated tone was full of shock and disbelief. Yi Hao looked in the direction of his eyes and saw a scene that shocked him extremely. A young man rose into the air, holding a silver-white sword in his hand and slashed at the boat scales in the sky. The terrifying energy and blood formed a slash of energy in the air, like a silver moon. At the same time, a sky full of stars appeared above his head. This is an extremely terrifying martial arts phenomenon, which freezes the rain of swords all over the sky. The surrounding students who were taking action were also instantly frozen in place. With murderous intent. I didn't expect that among these guys, there is actually a real genius hidden among them. Zhou Lin instantly felt the aura of the other party, Grandmaster Third Heaven. I just don't know where this young prodigy came from to have such a terrifying talent. He had only seen such terrifying martial arts visions from the top 50 beings on the list of geniuses. Interesting. However, Zhou Lin didn't think too much. Just because the energy slash had already arrived in front of him. I have a sword that can cut mountains and rivers. Zhou Lin clenched the long sword in his hand and pointed it towards the sky. A terrifying figure appeared behind him, with his upper body naked and covered with massive muscles like hills. He also held a big sword and slashed up and down at the energy. Boom! The two clashed, collided, and erupted into terrifying energy fluctuations, rushing in all directions like turbulent waves. A large mountain in the distance was swept by the aftermath, and half of its top was immediately wiped away. It was enough to show how terrifying the battle between the two was. Zhou Lin, get down here. Li Yu faced the stars in the sky and slashed towards Zhou Lin again. You deserve it too. As a genius on the list of geniuses, Zhou Lin also relied on his own ability to kill, so naturally he is not a weak person. Facing Li Yu's repeated provocations, he became completely angry. He directly grasped the long sword in his hand and fought with Li Yu. Within a few seconds, they exchanged dozens of moves. Zhou Lin is accompanied by 3 or 4 kinds of martial arts phenomena, which makes him extremely powerful. Every blow is as heavy as a mountain or an ocean. If it were an ordinary grandmaster, he would have suppressed him long ago. It's a pity that his opponent is Li Yu. Just one kind of star vision can compete with the other party's 3 or 4 kinds of visions. And as time went by, the qi and blood in Li Yu's body became more and more violent, and he actually started to press against Zhou's scales. Many warriors who were relatively close were touched by the aftermath of the battle, were seriously injured, and were directly kicked out by Tiandao. It's actually that boy Li Yu. Zhao Li recognized Li Yu's identity, her eyes filled with excitement. Obviously, this was the first time she discovered that the other party had such combat power. Seeing that Zhao Li knew him, Yi Hao also looked at her curiously. Are you an acquaintance? Well, he is the second son of the Li family of the 4 great aristocratic families. Li Yu is the only guy of the same age as me from the 4 great aristocratic families. If it weren't for our 2 families having a falling out, I would probably have made an engagement with her. At the end, Zhao Li smiled in relief. You can be considered a genius. Zhang Sa nodded, his eyes full of excitement. It seemed that he was the one pressing down on the boat. If he can defeat Zhou Lin, he will be able to replace the opponent in the ranking of the genius list. Now, there are probably many teachers outside who are paying attention here. Even if Li Yu fails, the opponent's performance will be enough to enter those top universities. Quote. Yi Hao said with a smile. The easiest way to get on the list of geniuses is to defeat the beings on the list of geniuses in full public view. As the first day of assessment ends and the second day of assessment begins, many universities have already set their sights here. Therefore, as long as Li Yu can defeat Zhou Lin, he will be able to soar into the sky. Outside, Li Yu's father also looked solemnly at what was happening in the huge light curtain. He has trained Li Yu for so many years just for this day. Top talent, bloodthirsty. Zhou Lin, who had been fighting with Li Yu for a long time, recognized the opponent's talent from his blood-red pupils and violent energy and blood. A violent talent similar to Zhang Sa's, but much more powerful. The more serious the injury, the higher the combat power bonus obtained. Come again. There were many wounds on Li Yu's body, and blood flowed out, and then turned into blood mist to wrap him up, making him look like a demon god. This is also a manifestation of bloodthirsty talent. At this time, he was extremely excited and once again clenched his sword and fought with Zhou Lin. Zhou Lin also had many wounds on his body, with blood overflowing. Fighting with Li Yu made him very frustrated. There is a feeling that is too powerful to be expressed. If there is no backup plan, Zhou Lin will be defeated. Yi Hao looked at the battle above and expressed his opinion. As an unparalleled genius, I should have a backup plan. Zhang Sa was a little unsure. Above the sky, Zhou Lin slashed Li Yu away with a sword, then took a few steps back. Quote. Li Yu looked at Zhou Lin not far away and vaguely noticed something was wrong. Yin-yang eyes. After all, Zhou Lin used the divine treasure. His eyes were one black and one white, like the yin and yang bagua, encapsulating the universe. A black and white pupil looked straight ahead. With terrifying murderous intent, he shot towards Li Yu. Golden hand. Seeing such a terrifying pupil technique, Li Yu did not dare to be careless and used his own divine treasure. The right hand instantly turned golden yellow, as if it were made of gold. He directly grabbed the black and white pupils and squeezed them hard. This pupil light, which was enough to obliterate the Grandmaster's Zochan realm, was actually crushed by him. However, his golden right hand was instantly defeated and returned to its original state. How is this possible? Zhou Lin looked at this scene with disbelief. He never expected that his pupil technique would be crushed by someone's hand. It's my turn. Li Yu endured the severe pain in his right hand, held the knife in both hands, and slashed out. Yi Hao, who was in the distance, saw this scene and had already anticipated the final outcome. If it were a fight to the death, Li Yu should win, but it's a pity. Li Yu's bloodthirsty talent, the more serious the injury, the more terrifying the increase in combat power. In a fight to the death, Li Yu could only stand to the end with a smile. It's a pity that this is a secret realm, and death is absolutely not allowed in the school. Sure enough, when the battle reached its most critical moment, Li Yu and Zhou Lin were simultaneously shrouded in white light and disappeared. What now? Zhao Li looked at the two people who had been kicked out and asked Yi Hao. Now, it's my turn. Yi Hao looked at the remaining students indifferently. He couldn't wait to get tested in the third level. Isn't this bad? Zhang Sa felt that this was unfair to some students. They have to be eliminated anyway, so I helped them eliminate them in advance. What's wrong with that? After Yi Hao finished speaking, he flew directly to the sky. Pointing downwards, 64 flying swords flew out, unleashing countless sword energies. They intertwined together to form a giant tornado of sword energy, strangulating downwards. After confirming the protection mechanism of Heavenly Tao, he never held back any more. Under the tornado of sword energy that could kill the master. The students below are all ordinary martial arts masters and cannot resist his offensive at all. They were all wrapped in white light and disappeared in place. All quit too. Zhang Sa looked at the only 3 students left and chose to quit. Give the first place to Yi Hao. I quit too. Zhao Li nodded and then withdrew. Etc. Just when Yi Hao was about to exit, Kai Yan appeared. Kai Yan Tiandao, is there anything else? Yi Hao stopped and said. The martial arts test is over, and the big gift I promised you can be honored. Kai Yan looked at Yi Hao in front of him and said. But, there is still a teacher waiting for me outside. Yi Hao frowned. Don't worry, I've already told them. Kai Yan said with a smile. He can't wait. You don't want to take me away, do you? Seeing Kai Yan's expression of wanting to eat him, Yi Hao looked weird. What the hell, why are you taking away your body? Although you are very strong, you are still too weak compared to the way of heaven. Kai Yan rolled his eyes at Yi Hao. Then what do you want to do? Yi Hao was a little confused. Don't worry, let me tell you first. The master understands the artistic conception, and only by substantiating the artistic conception can he advance to become a grand master. These are still very simple for you. After all, you already have the substantial artistic conception. Kai Yan said with a smile. What about the king level? Yi Hao frowned. There doesn't seem to be any method of practicing at the king level on the internet. Kai Yan nodded and continued. King-level people need to have their own domain, which is also called the king's domain. Is this related to artistic conception? Yi Hao heard another meaning in the other party's tone. It is indeed related. Kai Yan nodded and spoke again. When the artistic conception becomes substantial and reaches a certain level again, you can communicate with the power of heaven and earth and understand the laws of heaven and earth. When the laws you understand are strong enough to a certain extent, you can form your own realm of laws, which is the realm of the king. However, on Blue Star, the power of laws is really rare. If you want to go further at the king level, you must obtain enough power of heaven and earth so that you can obtain enough laws of heaven and earth. Quote. Yi Hao looked at the other party. Is your gift the law of heaven and earth? Kai Yan nodded, then opened his arms, and with his movements, everything in this secret realm fell into stasis. Immediately afterwards, starting from them, everything around them began to break. Now, I am starting to advance to the advanced way of heaven. The laws of heaven and earth will fill the entire secret realm. How much you can get depends on you. Kai Yan smiled. Then, he sank into the void, preparing to go to the heart of the world, sit there, and wait for the world's upgrade to be completed. It's really a great gift. Due to the protection of Kai Yan, the law of annihilation did not cause any harm to Yi Hao. Because the heaven and earth have been reshaped, the only things that can still exist now are the laws of heaven and earth. And as soon as he stretched out his hand, he could touch the power of these laws. It made him extremely excited. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.